Alright guys, welcome back to the NUEL National Championship. We are in week number 4 of the spring season, our last week of Swiss play before we go to break and then head to playoffs. Our first match of the day will be Hertfordshire Blue going up against the similarly coloured Swansea Black.
Yeah, two teams of opposing colours, blue or black, who will come out on top.
It's a battle for the ages, it really is. But yes, Hertfordshire Blue are one of our featured teams, so if any of you guys would like to be featured on a future week, then please do fill in the questionnaire that goes out every single week on the NUEL League of Legends Facebook page. But let's get into things, as Hertfordshire Blue dropped some interesting bans in the early going. The Udyr, as well as the more conventional Azir, and for Swansea Black, the Echo and the Draven, some very directed bans towards Hertfordshire.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. As you can see, Savonix is in the Azir club, so no question about taking that champion away from him. And Hertfordshire Blue have said that AD Carry is a Draven player, and he sees himself at least as the star of the team. So taking those pocket picks away from them, maybe put them on something a bit more uncomfortable, is a sort of common strategy. Especially when I feel like both these teams, some of the players might have shorter champion pools of real power picks they want to get a hold of. Two air bans actually coming towards the AD Carry for Hertfordshire Blue, so might even decide to pick up an AD Carry early just so they ensure a priority pick for themselves.
Would make a lot of sense. I think Hertfordshire Blue have gotten themselves a little bit of a reputation with their big talk about their individual players. We'll see. No, instead of going for the AD Carry, they've decided to lock in the Sion pick, whereas Swansea have got the priority down on the bottom lane, don't want to get picked out. The Tristana, the first one to be locked in.
Yes, Sion, really staple pick, really solid tank, and definitely the best tank at the moment. Been played a lot in all sort of competitive scenes, has a lot of shoving power, and his ult is insane for engage, so clearly want to hold that pick. In return, Swansea have decided to go for their bot lane. I think that's a smart decision, given that you are trying to ban away from the enemy team's AD Carry. You want to have a good lane against him. Triss Braum, a very safe lane that also scales well. So it'll be interesting to see what Hertfordshire want to come out in response. Seems like they will pick at least the AD Carry in this rotation.
I'm sure you're right, Orcs. And okay, interesting. Well, Tristana is going to certainly scale up to be a very long-range AD Carry threat. Vayne, completely the opposite end of the spectrum, and the Hertfordshire Blue finish out that bottom lane. Vayne and Thresh. Orcs, what do you make of that?
A very aggro bot lane, and I think if you're saying to yourself, our bot lane likes to carry, they like to get ahead, then this is a sort of very skill-based bot lane. Thresh has a lot of potential. He's not been seen as much in the meta because it is harder to play against champions like Braum, but if you can make the big plays, it's a valuable pick. And Vayne, obviously, if she gets ahead, can 1v19 fight. So I think this is Hertfordshire saying we want to carry as a bot lane. On the other side, we've seen Aurelia come out, which I think is decent against Vayne, because if you manage to jump on it, you can provide a lot of burst. Not sure quite how it does into a lane against a Sion, although I do know that you can use the Q to dodge out from Sion's channel Q. You can dash to a menu to avoid it, so it might be a matchup that Swansea's top laner feels comfortable on. And then starting to see some mid lane bans come out, as obviously mid and jungle are left up, so it seems likely we'll see bans towards those. Hertfordshire opted for jungle bans. Sejuani, not only a really solid tank jungler, but synergizes very well with Braum with double stun passives.
Oh yeah, I mean, a team with both of those on, absolutely heinous. As Swansea Black hit the second mid lane ban. Worth noting that Dunkosaurus is the mid lane for Hertfordshire Blue and has yet to get that pick of their own. Blues deciding to focus down on the bottom lane, as we've been saying before. Wonder if we'll see another jungle ban coming in to try and keep their jungle safe. Worth noting as well that Hertfordshire haven't picked up their own jungle, unless it's going to be a bit oddball and be the Sion.
Yeah, I think it'd be unlikely to be the Sion. Just so strong in top lane, but maybe they might have a jungler who has, you know, more maybe a more niche pick that he's comfortable on, so they don't mind banning away these meta tanks. Most likely we'll see a jungle pick up here and then the mid counter pick coming out from Swansea. I'm not going to say anything about the Hover until they lock it in.
Yes, they're only teasing.
Yeah, and they do go for the Jax. Jax, you know, another solid tank jungler. When compared to champions like Sejuani and Jarvan, has some good early dueling, and I think it's pretty good against the Vayne because obviously you can block a water attacks, won't get shredded as easily in a late game team fight, so a decent pickup here, especially when there's a lot off the table. And then obviously Hertfordshire have to put their last two picks in. Unsure what they'll go for in jungle. A lot has been taken on the table, so might see something a bit weird. Malzahar, oh yeah, Zach's sword.
Yep, we'll be locked in. It's a very solid last picks for Hertfordshire Blue. We've now just got to see what Swansea Black decide to bring out for themselves in the mid lane. So far, lacking for AP, but if we do see the Z locked in, it would be certainly a pretty powerhouse auto-attacking team.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe lacking a bit on the scaling side there, as they would be very AD focused, but does go for the Corki in the end, which balances that out. Corki obviously doing a lot of magic damage and scaling very well. I think one of the big assets to Corki as well is he's not punished too hard by picking up a QSS when playing into a Malzahar, and has mobility. So should there be a situation where Malzahar ultra, you can QSS and then use your Valkyrie to get away. So I think it's a good pickup. Scales really well. I guess Heartfish have gone in the direction of they are really putting all their eggs in the bot lane basket. The rest of the team sort of facilitates that. They have the engage and the sign and the Zac. They have the Malzahar for peel and also for that ult lockdown. They are putting the eggs into the Vayne basket here, and they do want their AD carry to carry. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get that to work. I think Swansea have a very good comp to sort of counter that. They have a Jax who's going to be good in skirmishes, and they have a Corki who's obviously going to be able to pick up his package and hopefully make a play bot lane. And if you put that Vayne behind, it's going to be difficult for Hertfordshire to really get back into it.
All right, guys, we've got 3 minutes to wait out before we get started into the game, so please do let us know in the chat who you think is going to be winning out here. It's worth noting that we are in the last week of Swiss. Both of these teams playing here today are ranked in the 40s. Swansea Black ranked number 44, Hertfordshire Blue ranked 47. So if for both of these teams, they'll need to win out every single one of their games here this evening if they want to stand a chance of making it through to the playoff stage. And even then, it's going to be a little bit tight.
Yeah, and I think these are the really interesting matches to see because a lot of the higher tier teams are pretty much confirmed to go through at this point because they've got such a high win rate. But these teams are really fighting for their chance to continue in the rest of the NUEL split. So a lot on the line for both of them. And, yeah, I'd say, what are your thoughts, Counterfeit, on who do you think is going to come out ahead for you personally? Whose draft do you like better?
I think you've got it definitely on the head with Hertfordshire Blue that we've got this very sort of Vayne-centric sort of lineup here. It feels like it's a more proactive defense of the Vayne, with the Zac and with the Scion and the Thresh, actively using abilities as opposed to more sort of passively defending, like, say a Lulu, which you might more traditionally see with the Vayne. I think I'm going to try and pronounce the name Kitsune, I guess? Kitsune?
Kitsune?
Yeah, I think they're going to have their work cut out for them to avoid getting jumped on by the Jax. I think it feels like it's going to be real feast or famine in terms of if Swansea Black do successfully kind of break through the line, then I think Kitsune is going to get absolutely demolished. But at the same time, you've got a Vayne who's going invisible. I think it might be a little tricky for Swansea to actually locate her in the middle of a team fight.
Yeah, and with all that CC flying around as well, when Vayne has like small windows in a team fight where she will become visible and you can put damage into her, but when there's so much CC being thrown about by Malzahar, by Zac, by Sion, it's like, can you act on that necessarily?
Well, yeah, we've got Thresh with the Flay to be able to throw away one at least of Jax and Aurelia. Do you see Swansea Black, given that they've got some form of poke from the Tristana, from the Corki? Do you think would they go for the full commit to take out Kitsune, or can they just operate from a longer range than the Vayne is working from and just kind of chip away at Hertfordshire?
I think it's something I'd like to see. There will be situations where team fights don't go as they should, but I feel like if you play front to back, Malzahar and Vayne are very, very good at cutting through tanks. And the thing is, no one on Swansea's side is really a true tank. In terms, like, Zac and Sion are true tanks. They are very bulky, especially in the late stage of the game. Whereas Jax and Aurelia are more bruisers. Yes, they won't be squishy, but a Vayne and a Malzahar will cut through them pretty heavily. So I think if the thing is playing around rapid fire procs, I think Tristana and Corki have the opportunity to put a lot of burst onto Vayne if they catch her out. So I think they need to do that because the rest of the comp does have damage, obviously, but you need this Vayne to die. You can't just let her shred your front line, especially with the Malzahar's help, or you're probably going to struggle.
All right, guys, we will be loading in. So, Orcs, just as before, we'll need to take ourselves a little pause at the start of the game to make sure that we get everything linked up correctly. So please do bear with us. Just having a look through and seeing what you guys are talking about in the chat before we get started. Yep. Gontharian has a good point about the Scion going to be able to stack that health against the Aurelia true damage. In the one-on-one, you talked about the Adentum, the Aurelia for the side of Swansea, is going to have to dodge away. But do you think there's a point in the game that the Scion will become just too beefy for Aurelia to make any kind of impact on?
I'm going to be honest, I don't think Aurelia has a massive amount of kill pressure on Sion at the point in the game. I think early game he's strong and he just scales up. I think unless Sion gets caught out by a lot of ganks or really misplays things, I think Aurelia has just struggled to do any in terms of like solo killing them. Unless the Aurelia obviously massively outskills. You can go for what first sort of tank killer build later on if you put things like Blade of the Rune King on Aurelia. I mean, if you do that, you just gimp in your team fight, and I don't think Aurelia is that big of a team fight threat. What I'd like to see is picking up the core items like Triforce, getting a bit of burst so you can hurt the carries, and then maybe items like a Guardian's Angel or something to give you a bit more bulkiness and tankiness in team fights.
So I'm just loading into the game at the moment. If we get paused up at the 10-second mark, and then we'll just jaw for a little bit more about how I think it's going to look for our first game of week 4. So just going to get up there now. Do not be alarmed, gentle friends, if you hear the sounds of a game loading in. That's because we're just making sure we're all synced up for the game itself. So pausing now. We'll leave it running for about 20 seconds or so that we've got a smooth ride all the way to the end.
I don't really start my clients bugged out.
Oh dear.
Give me a second.
Alright. Well, yes, don't worry too much, guys. You're not missing anything at all. And we'll just wait for Orcs to get back in before we actually start off today. So, just to reiterate what we've got going on a little bit later on, we will have What Puns Are Cringe from the Heriot Watts University and the Bristol Palace from the University of Bristol. Particularly worth noting is that Bristol are one of the top of the table teams. Exeter are kind of dominating the top of the table right now. They've actually got 2 teams sponsored by HyperX and Super Duper Giants Truck Team, who we got surprised by in the first week as they took out Monkey Cage. Right up at the top of the table, Bristol Palace will be looking to try and dethrone some giants later on, so it should be pretty fun.
What time were you wanting it paused at?
If we get to 10 seconds, and then we should be good to go from there. So let me just get mine set up in the right place as well.
Yep. Ready when you are.
So, let's count down to the action. So, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, and we'll get you guys in on everything as well. There we go. Hertfordshire Blue playing over in the blue. Swansea Black playing on the red, our first match of the week. Let's get things going.
Yep. Looks like both teams are just going to go for a defensive start here. Bit of potential on these supports, Brom and the Thresh, to go for something aggressive, but looks like they won't. Seen Ignite come out from the Thresh, which is definitely something I like to see. If you're committing to a Thresh pick and you want your bot lane to carry, you want that extra kill pressure, not just in 2v2s, but Ignite has a lot of power in 3v3s to burst down one target. Also reduces the effectiveness of Keel. So, liking the choices, and it just clearly shows Heartfish's plan that we are going to get our bot lane to win, and we want our Vayne to carry.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit I find myself a little surprised that we're not seeing something like the more traditional exhaust to keep Vayne alive, but yeah, perhaps this does play into what we've been talking about with the more, the way to defend is to get aggressive.
Yeah, I think they know the Vayne has to be strong, and waiting for late in the game isn't necessarily, because normally with a Vayne it's like you wait for the later stage of the game, but you're against a Corki and a Triss. They're not exactly going to scale off. And as well, in this current meta with the new Baron and Elder Dragon, can't really just stall out till late. Especially, I think everyone's seen in the LCS, using a banner command with a Baron cannon minion just devastates your base. So you can't really rely on a Vayne waiting until the later stage of the game to get strong. So I think Hertfordshire knows this, and they're like, we want to win the early laning phase. Bit of confidence over their laning opponent here. And you can see they start off with some aggressive trades already. It's not much damage on the Braum, but they've shown that they want to trade. They want to play for the 2v2 advantage.
So far, so Stanner, we've of course got the junglers starting on opposite sides from one another. So Troubling Gourds could potentially be heading up towards the top of the mid. Ray Dorado has the potential to intervene down bottom. Orcs, you mentioned that we might see Swansea try and go for something decisive down there. Do you think that's a possibility at one of the early levels?
I think it's a bit tricky. I think they can definitely go for a gank with Jax. Oh, we are seeing a hook here.
Oh, nice. Well, there you go. Wow, that was a really nice combo there. Kinto allowing so much time for Kitsune to get through the damage, but we have got Ray Dorado coming in from the side. I don't think this has been sensed out by Hertfordshire quite yet. Ray Dorado is going to in fact go for the support rather than for the Vayne, and that will be first blood going across to Swansea.
A really solid read, playing on the enemy bot lane's aggression. They let them push up, let them play aggressive, and I mean, it was good from the Thresh not to be in a summoners. I don't think there was a situation where he didn't die there, but really you need to have that vision control and respect that at 3 minutes, you're often going to see a gank from the jungler. And this is difficult because you put all your eggs in this Vayne basket and you've now just gone down a kill against the enemy bot lane. Obviously the kill's not the Tristana, but still, the Jax is getting stronger, they get a chance to shove in. Not what you want to see in this game starting off.
Well, not at all, and also, while it's all been going on, Adentum up on the Irelia in the top lane has been putting down some good vision to avoid having the same thing happen to them. Troubling Gauls and Lazak going to be just relegated to farming for the moment, because I think the vision being too good for Swansea up there has been successfully noticed at least. So at least Lazak won't be spending a long time going up there for no reward.
Yeah, and that's one of the worst things as a jungler, is when you waste a lot of time waiting for an opportunity. Ooh, close hook there coming on the Trist, but
Opportunity
to get away.
It almost knocked there, but it feels like Swansea a little too canny to just realizing that there's the possibility there. We haven't really had the chance to talk about this too much. That we've got the kind of traditionally the Ezreal Braum combination incredibly hard to gank. Tristana Braum kind of more or less the same thing.
Well, do you land the CC?
That is a very nice hook, but the Guardian Shield going to cut out a lot of the damage. Kitsune is able to keep their distance. We know that Kitsune's fancy footwork is going to be super important in this game, particularly once it comes to those team fights.
Yeah, something I actually like to see from a Thresh against a Braum, if you're going for an all-in like that, is you can lantern your AD carry past the enemy Braum, and so you can get through the wall. Zach is coming in here.
There's a hook landing right into the shield, the stun into the wall. Could this be revenge time for Hertfordshire? They're bringing down the health bars extremely close. Flash being burnt. Troubling Gauze recovering a lot of ground for Hertfordshire in the bottom.
Oh, some really good things, but some really unfortunate things there. I think it has to be said, Kinto got a solid hook, and then he went for the flay afterwards and actually interrupted the Tristana's jump there. But unfortunately, it felt like they split their focus. Zach didn't jump on the Braum, he jumped on Tristana, and then the ignite went down on the Braum, and I mean it could have definitely got a kill on either target there, but they split their focus, and it let them down then. Although they got a lot of summoners, they burnt several themselves. And I think that could have gone a lot better for them.
It was strange to see, yes, both members of Swansea's bottom lane very low on health. And unfortunately as well, for the side of Hertfordshire, Ray Dorado was in the area to pick up some of that CS. So the gold lead actually remains in Swansea's favour, thanks to that first blood going onto Jax, as well as that actual exchange of violence down there, actually giving Jax even more CS.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you fail a gank as a jungler, it's not just like, oh, okay, the gank didn't work, but that's time you could have spent elsewhere. It's time you could have spent farming. And especially against someone like a Jax who farms so well with his passive build and attack speed, it's going to set you behind eventually. And, I guess Hertfordshire's going to be a bit unfortunate that gank didn't go well, but eager to see them make a return gank, because Tristana is down flash now. Looks like Jax is on the bot side of the map, though. Might be looking for something mid here. Malzahar is immobile and is very pushed up, but
has got the level 6 to drop down the ult. Of course, it's going to be hard to push this through, but there we go. The combo crowd control comes in. The root, the catch, and very smoothly played from Hertfordshire to force through the kill in the mid.
Yeah, really solid play. Zach was just on the Raptor pit. I think that's something you have to defensively ward as a mid laner, because Zach is such a threat. Such huge range on his jump. And obviously, Zavonix didn't have that covered for himself, and it meant that once a Malzahar comes down, I mean, it's really hard to do anything at that point. You are locked in place for such a long time. And this is given a bit of freedom, and you can see Dunkfosaurus has moved up and got a pink ward in the enemy jungle. And this is I really like to see this sort of play. As you can see, that it's quite a good amount of vision control just around the mid lane, side of Hertfordshire, and it means that when Malzahar's pressure mid, he's going to be able to move to other lanes, and having a Malzahar show up in your lane unexpectedly, it's not something you want to see when you're on the opposing team. See, both junglers posturing here for bot lane, though.
Yes, the Zac engage, hard to deny, but will not get the knock up this time around. I think Hertfordshire didn't realize that this is a possibility of Ray Dorado coming in, and it's going to cost them a little bit of time as well. Another catch comes through. Will we see a repeat gank? No, I think Troubling Gauze is maybe hoping for the possibility, but in fact only ends up spending a little bit more time as Ray Dorado on the Jax returns to the jungle. Farm still underway. Going to be building a little bit of tankiness, as perhaps was predicted earlier on. Swansea Black, without that dedicated tank, going to be asking a little bit more from their bruisers.
Yeah, I think... Oh, ult comes in from Sion here.
Yes, Adentum may have a little bit of trouble jumping out here. Goes down extremely low. Flash is being exchanged. I think big old Bazongas, oh boy, what a name. Really hungry to get some blood, even having it built exclusively tanky so far.
Yeah, really good read from Adentum, though. I mean, obviously he was an unfortunate player that he got to that point, but he read the flash coming out from the Sion, and he flashed at the same time, so ends up trading flashes, not a huge deal, but does miss a big wave as he's down without his TP. Something I wanted to comment on earlier is that gank that got counter-ganked by the Jax. I feel like Hertfordshire could have committed more. They had the TP advantage on their Sion, and they sort of just backed off and had the Zac flash out, but Zac has passive. I feel like you can commit more, you have the extra time, and if they'd called the Sion in, they could really turn that round.
It felt a little bit like Hertfordshire Blue just kind of were a little bit panicked by having the Jax there unexpectedly. Speaking of unexpected Jax, we've got the Jax on the blue buff. Ray Dorado has got a teammate to jump away from, so no blue still, but that was a little bit sketchy there for a second.
Yeah, something I like to see, though. He is going aggressive. He knows the enemy blues up, and as you can see, with counter jungling and just the general efficiency from the Jaxes, he has gotten a CS lead over the Zac and a level lead. So it is something I like to see. We were talking about how this Vayne needs to get ahead, and this is sort of why is that a Jax can out-farm the Zac and get a bit of a gold lead on him if left to his own devices. Especially when the Zacs made these attempts at ganks and they've failed or not worked out. So stepping behind a bit here, and as you can see, the Jax has finished his jungle item as full Cinderhulk, and Zac's only on his components.
Yeah, it's got that challenging smite to win out the duels, which I'm sure will be coming before too long. Just cresting the 10-minute mark, we've got a Mountain Drake up for grabs for anyone who does manage to take control of this bottom lane. But it's been... as much as we expected the bottom lane to be a crucial factor for this game, the ganking around it has been a little bit back and forth as far as the teams goes. So you get these big successes, but also these big missteps as well.
Well, I think it's sort of expected. Hertfordshire clearly want to snowball heavily. Unfortunately, that gank didn't work out too well. But from the other side of Swansea, if you find the opportunity to punish the enemy bot lane, which they did, it just really sets them back. Because I mean, if you're playing a Vayne Thresh bot lane, you want to get an early lead, and then you get ganked, it puts a big timer where you have to catch up, and we will see an aggressive play mid.
Dunkfosaurus going to get caught out, does not have a flash to get away, drops down the ult just to buy a little bit of time, but that's kill number 2 coming in for Swansea Black this time, working out pretty well, and the mobility of Sovinox on that Corki, able to close the distance in time.
Yeah, really solid play. They moved down the posture to assist that bot lane. Malzahar felt he had to follow to assist, and then they just punished him. That's the issue with a champion like Malzahar, very immobile. And when you're against a Jax who has not only his flash but his leap strike as well, and a Corki who has his package and then his Valkyrie, really difficult to get away. And he just got caught out. Malzahar doesn't do very much in a 2v1.
Down the bottom side, it looks like another gank is going to come through while the Mountain Drake is being taken for Swansea Black. They may have to give up something for it, though. We've got the teleport being channeled in. Troubling Gore's going to get caught up. Will decide to go back in again. Will they use the time wisely? Big old... And also, Dunkosaurus don't have the teleport to keep those Bloodlets alive, so now it's 4v2. The health bars are pretty low for Swansea. It looks like they're going to go under the tower. Ignite comes out, and that's one kill coming back in. Kinto, the one to take it in the end. We've got the Braum looking pretty low. Watch out for Sovonix, though, on the map. That Corki coming down. This could easily turn to a 4v1. But I don't think we're actually going to see a tower dive, because we're seeing recalls coming out as the push from Dunkosaurus in the mid is making some real inroads.
Yeah, I think Heartfisher really overstepped there, trying to come out in the Braum. Braum very tanky, still didn't use his flash in that entire encounter, so stepped a bit too far and got punished. Great TP from Adentum to come in and swing it round, and then I think Ray Dorado did overstep a little bit on this Jax and Kinto managed to pick up the kill with the Ignite, but really solid play. Not really sure about the roam from Sovonix though. Ended up taking a lot of tower damage mid as a result and didn't really manage to get anything. But they do hold the tower, which is the important thing. And due to that earlier kill on the Malzahar, they are in a power lead and getting some nice kills here. So definitely what you want to see if you're on the side of Swansea or a fan of theirs. Because, you know, who comes out mid?
That was a beautiful hook, but still able to create some distance with the Valkyrie. We've got the chain crowd control from Hertfordshire Blue. Will turn into a kill. Honestly, that's pretty nice stuff. A big roam coming out of the bottom lane, while Kitsune able to operate by themselves.
Yeah, I really like to see some... This is what you want to see from a Thresh. You want to see him roaming, making use of that, and he's returning bot.
Kinto almost lands that death sentence again. To do a quick whip round on where we are item-wise at the moment, we've got the Sovonix with the completed Triforce, not too far off Identum as well. Maybe a chance for Swansea to really kind of abuse those power spikes if they can. Ray Dorado is going to go one-on-one with Troubling Gores. We've got multiple members of each team coming in from the side, so I don't know if they're going to commit for this one. But still, a statement of intent from Ray Dorado.
Yeah, absolutely. He's in a really strong position with the Red Smite as well. Duel the Zac. Just gives him a lot of skirmishing power, obviously reduces the damage he takes, and then also gives him the true damage. And this is just the thing, is that Swansea has so many damage threats on their side. I mean, yes, Malzahar does put out a fair amount of damage, particularly when he's gone this Leandri's build. He is a tank shredder. So I'm not too sure about the Leandri's rush, because, I mean, it does add to his damage a lot, but it's sort of a slow burn. Maybe a more higher AP build might help him to cut through squishier targets, because no one on the side of Swansea is really that tanky.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I believe it's with the changes, it's now 1% of the max health that it's doing as a unique passive. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, at the moment, it seems like most of the time Dunkosaurus is facing off against relatively squishy members of Swansea Black in most of these fights.
Yeah, and it obviously increases damage the longer you've been in a combat, but realistically, if you're ulting, say, a Tristana, you need to burst it quickly. Chances are she'll have a QSS, or if you sit there for a full 3 seconds ulting her, you're probably just going to get killed by the rest of the team.
I think so far for Hertfordshire, they've been able to chain together the crowd control for long enough. Speaking of down in the bottom side, we've got ourselves a little bit of a fight as Kitsune decides to go in. Teleport going to be channeled as well. Frolic down very low as the death sentence is going to secure that kill across for Hertfordshire. That's the first kill going in, but they're up in the top side as well. Plays all over the map. And Frolic taken out by Dunkosaurus. Huge series of plays for Hertfordshire Blue.
Absolutely. Really good TP just to assist them out. Jax is waiting in the wings, or with the Corki package. Looks like they'll go for the play here.
It's going to be 3v2, but full health bars may make a difference. Nice crowd control on the Corki, but Kinto being taken out low enough. Ray Dorado is going to be able to finish the job. Double kill comes through, and Swansea Black make up for lost time very quickly.
Yeah, huge pickup. You got to be really careful when the enemy Corki has package, because not only does it give him such mobility, but as you can see, Kitsune got stuck on top of the package burn, and it does so much damage, and the slow is devastating. Both teams making really proactive plays, though. It's what I like to see. Diane trying to come in here and defend the turret will push the Jax away, but both teams using their TP proactively, something like Adentum's TP is up next, and with Sion using that, looking forward to him making a play towards bot lane, and that is the key thing, is playing around these TPs. Hertfordshire did use both of theirs, did manage to equalise on turrets, but are still sitting about 1,000 gold behind. And now the ball is really in Swansea's park. They have TP on the top laner, about 30 seconds until Corki has his. And, you know,
the 2 completed Triforces now. Adentum going to be, though not having a kill as of yet, and going up against Big Ol with that Thornmail. A 1-on-1 certainly doesn't feel too great for the Aurelia, but you start putting the Aurelia up against perhaps other targets like the Vayne, maybe the results will be dramatically different.
Yeah, I think it's the burst damage it sort of offers. Ooh.
Wow. Well, Kinto Shito, very, very aggressive flash, death sentence play. Doesn't land this time, but does at least strip away a flash from the side of Swansea. We've got another Drake come up in just 5 seconds. I think the brewing of a team fight, but no, we've got the Braum getting caught out, gonna get deleted before the team fight even starts. And now a catch onto Jax. Ray Dorado is gonna decide to go in anyway, though. Will get knocked out while the damage threats from the side of Hertfordshire are getting the right targets. Dorado trying to get away, but the double kill comes through. Hertfordshire now on the chase. Frolic will get across the wall, but there's still going to be giving up that second Drake, the Mountain, across the Hertfordshire. And we might even see an attempt at a cut-off from Big Ol, but I don't think so. Maybe just trying to buy some space for Hertfordshire.
Yeah, Megapixel overstepping quite a bit there. I could see the idea he wanted to engage yet his team there, but wasn't quite timed yet. Bit of miscommunication and gets punished. And as soon as he went down, I feel like Swansea should have just backed off, but they committed to the fight 4v5. And you can see the issue there. Identum had the right idea to go for the Vayne, but the second he got close, Malzahar ulted him, and being a squishy Aurelia with only a Triforce, he just got melted and wasn't able to really do anything. And this is the issue. If you don't get on top of this Vayne, and she has the peel around her, she's just going to shred through anyone who gets close.
It felt like Donkosaurus and Kutsune were able to just about duck away from all of that crowd control and really keep themselves safe. Perhaps some echoes of what we'll be looking for in future fights. Third Triforce completed for Swansea Black, though. They should be very powerful right now, but Adentum gonna get chased down. The tower is still there. The hook doesn't land this time. We have got Savonix off to the side. Hertfordshire Blue seems to be feeling pretty darn confident right now, more than willing to make the proactive plays. But Rift Herald is on the table, and I think I'll quickly jump the camera across to Ray Dorado. Yes, it is being taken, and I think it is going to go across to Swansea as the Baron comes in. Whew, couldn't have been closer. Down on the bottom side, Adentum going to get caught out. The crowd control chain coming in. Hertfordshire Blue, that single target lockdown is just crazy.
Yeah, a bit over aggressive from Adentum. In situations like this, you have the rest of your team on the top side of the map. They're making a play there. You have to expect the enemy team to be doing the same, and you can't go aggressive. But to be honest, even without the Zac there, probably would have been punished. And as you can see, Sion did back off. He saw the same thing coming, and he manages to get away. Does have to use his flash and ult, but you get in one situation, Adentum's given a kill to the Vayne, and then the other big old Bazongas on the Sion does manage to get away. And I think this is a difference. Being heads up, knowing what the enemy team's going for, and Hertfordshire coming out ahead again in that play. And I think Swansea needs to make good use of this Rift Tile to sort of equalise the game.
Some good time for Hertfordshire Blue on that tier 2 bottom side tower. Yes, I'm really looking to see where that Rift Tile is going to be deployed. It is on a Ray Dorado the Jax, so keep your eyes on where they end up heading for the next couple of minutes. If you're, if you're the side of Swansea, where would you think would be the best place to throw down that Rift Herald?
I think it has to be in a side lane. I think it's too difficult in the mid lane because you're going to have people moving up to cover. Definitely not bot yet because you want that tower so low, you want it down anyway. But I think they can find an opportunity to place it top or bot and try and make an attempt at the inner tower. Most likely going to have to be top lane because you can't send your jungler bot lane when Baron's up. It's too risky and the enemy team will just take the Baron. So probably just going to get this Corki to push in and then look for an opportunity. Even if they don't get the tower, damage can be really useful. Something I'm actually curious about, we saw Corki pick up the No Magic Mantle earlier, and I thought he was going to build it in the QSS, but actually has gone with the Merc Treads. I think Merc Treads, I mean, not the greatest pick up of Corki, but I probably would have preferred just to see Sorcerer Boots for the damage, and then a QSS. Jack's waiting for the Malzahar here.
Donkosaurus having to burn the flash very quickly. Again, it feels like Hertfordshire Blue don't necessarily deal with unexpected situations super well in terms of just very, very, snap reactions coming out for the players, which I suppose in some respects is good, but it feels like it allows for Swansea to really bait out these summoner spells, as we see Ray Dorado in the jungle. There's confined areas going in, no way to avoid the death sentence. The crowd control chain comes in, and Kutsene will get the kill. There's another lockdown member of Swansea Black, now trying to run away because the Sun Ult come in and Ray Dorado knocked away, but that's going to be forcing out the flash from Identum, and the chase is on. There's another catch coming through from Hertfordshire, and another kill. That's 3 for nothing, and the Baron is live.
Yeah, really solid play from Hertfordshire Blue, and I just feel like it wasn't the right fight to force from Swansea. Rift Ult will get used bot lane, try and pick up the tower, which I think is the right call. Contesting the Baron's pretty tricky. And it will go over to Hertfordshire Blue. Actually, from the Malzahar, so maybe not the cleanest smite there, but they do get the Baron, that's the important thing. You're going to lose bot tower in return, but definitely a trade Hertfordshire want to take. And I think it just shows if you don't get good backline access on this Vayne, on this Malzahar, and are able to take them out, really don't have much chance of winning the fights. And I think the biggest testament to that is the fact that Kitsune didn't use either summoners in that team fight. Which is really, I mean, you want to at least be forcing summoners going for a fight, but I think that was just the wrong one to go for. I think really the options for Swansea are just to sort of wait out the game a bit until their Corki's got a bit more items and is a big threat to the Vayne. Something interesting we haven't seen is we haven't seen a banner of command come out yet, so this Baron won't be as useful as it might be if they had a banner of command. Not sure if everyone's been watching the LCS recently, but if you banner of command the Baron cannon minion, devastate to the team.
Not the only thing that's devastating though. Kitsune has got the crit built up, so now we get a chance to see what happens one-on-one, though this one-on-one may not last very long. Holy moly, Kitsune able to take out Adentum before Sovernix, who was waiting at the side to try and make that into a 2v1s, even able to intervene.
Yeah, really difficult when the Aurelia's 0-3 to do anything to this Fed Vayne, especially when she has all the global gold from Baron and such, and the extra stats. Something to note. On 8.4, the stats from Baron have been buffed slightly. So there's been extremely strong here. And Hertfordshire are going to collapse one of the 4 members of Swansea.
Hertfordshire fighting between towers as they do manage to catch one. There we go, the train crowd control again from Hertfordshire Blue. It doesn't feel like Swansea have got really any way of getting out once that whole combination starts.
Absolutely, and that's what they need to do. They're so far ahead at this point, they can pick any target. Even the Braum, who had a flash in, is quite tanky compared to the rest of the team. They can put him in the middle of the team, and the Vayne and the Malzahar shred through him. And with this, they're going to take their first inhibitor of the game, and I don't think they're going to stop there. They're going to... Oh, what a hook.
Wow, another catch. I mean, it just goes without saying at this point. Hertfordshire Blue, the second they get their claws into any member of Swansea Black, they are just dead, dead, dead. They've got 1 minion to push in this tower, and I think they're going to take advantage of it. Inhibitor number 1 down at 25 minutes. I think we might have a chance of seeing number 2. The minion will die and make that tower a little bit tougher, but still it falls. Adentum down for another 17 seconds. I think Hertfordshire might be able to steal away inhibitor number 2.
Need to be careful here, though. When you have Vayne hitting the inhibitor, she's... You know, obviously the rest of the team can start to move up. The rest of the enemy team can move up and sort of get some damage down, but they do end up getting it. And Ping's going bot lane, so it looks like they're not even going to take a time to reset, and they're just going to go straight bot, which I think they'll just take this bot in a tower and then reset. Yeah, they have a lot of gold to spend. Almost over 2,000 on both their carries, and then 1,600 on the tanks, so big item spike's going to come in. You're going to have the 3 crit item spike from Vayne when she does eventually recall, which is huge at this point of the game. Obviously, those humble auto attacks are going to devastate Swansea's squishy lineup.
I mean, yeah, with the Static Shiv and the Phantom Dancer along with that Infinity Edge completed, I think those attacks anything but humble. Also, Kitsune gonna have that QSS completed in case somehow Swansea do manage to strike at the heart of Hertfordshire. It just doesn't seem to have happened so far, though. Only 1 death on Kitsune, and though I suppose there's just so few deaths on Hertfordshire as a whole, perhaps that's not representative.
Yeah, and I mean, now that Vayne's got QSS, and I don't think she's used summoners in the past sort of 5 minutes. I don't think there's really much threat for dying again. And this is the issue, they're now behind. All their members seem squishy compared to a Fed Vayne. And now you have even more. So you see the Malzahar's picked up a Rylai's. It's just going to be almost impossible to punish. See the amount of damage coming out from that Malzahar.
Yeah, Frolik almost got taken out. Wow, look at that health bar on the side of the screen. Goes down to minimal health. Of course, we've got the super minions pushing in mid and top while this is all going on. Swansea Black try and defend their last inhibitor, but the tower will fall. Forced back to Nexus. While we've got Troubling Gourds just buying space for Hertfordshire. That's inhibitor number 3 down. With that Cloud Drake completed objectives firmly in control of Hertfordshire.
Yeah, and it just seems like Swansea need to try and force a fight at some point, because if they wait for the minions to come in, they're going to be fighting the enemy team and the minions, but it's hard to see a point where they're actually going to be able to win a fight.
Catch landing once again. Those hooks have been on point. The crowd control coming in, this time going to lock down Ray Dorado, who gets obliterated. Second kill comes through. The double kill actually going to Kitsune, who is tearing up this team fight. Everything's such a huge mess, but only Kinto Hishoto is going to be taken out by Swansea. I think that's going to be the end of things. Hertfordshire Blue putting on a clinic for our first game of the evening. They begin their climb towards the playoffs.
Yeah, dominating performance, and they really facilitated this Vayne. Obviously, we said that they need the Vayne to get ahead, and they did, but it wasn't just from pure out skill. It wasn't like Kitsune and Kento dominated the bot lane. It was good map movements, good macro on the side of Hertfordshire, and then good teamfight play. There was no point where the Vayne really felt threatened in the teamfights. And as a result, Swansea, who's maybe didn't start off teamfights in the best way, didn't get that backline access, just fell behind and couldn't recover.
Alright guys, we have got 2 more games this evening. We are running a little bit behind schedule, so we may have to change up who we've got, but at least with what we have arranged, we'll have What Puns Are Cringe from Heriot-Watt University as our next featured team. So please do stay tuned, and we will be back with that as soon as we've got the game available.
potential atonement, an angel in disguise. But he can see your Aberdeen heart, London eyes, Glasgow bones. She's a whistle in the catacombs, a paradox. Oh, She just shakes her ears. She's falling too far with salt in her scars. Won't let it taste her tears. She's falling too far. The girl that time You let it go, catacombs. You let it go. You let it go, catacombs. You let it go. You let it go, catacombs. You let it go. You let it go, catacombs. You let it go. The girl that's out for God. She just shakes her ears. She's falling too far with salt in her scars. Won't let it taste her tears. She's falling too far. The girl that's out for You're telling me to breathe, but I can't catch a breath. You're telling me to sleep, but I can't bear to rest. Running through my blood like an animal, like an animal, like an animal. And I need to release the energy inside me, 'cause you make my world shake. I behave like an animal, like an animal, like an animal. I had the roses, but never your heart. I lived a dream, now I'm in the dark. Oh, 'cause you ran away and took my life, and so rip me to pieces, just let it all go.
Welcome back, guys, to the NUEL National Championship. We are heading into our second game of week number 4. Apologies for a little bit of delay getting started up. One of the teams having a little bit of trouble with their making sure everybody's in place. But what we have got coming up is What Puns Are Cringe, going up against, you know the way, from the University of Nottingham. A 10th place team against a 20th place team, but don't let that fool you. Both of them came in to this week with 6 points each, and both of them have won the first game. So either of these teams, as a result of this coming up game, could break into that fabled top 8 and really secure their playoff spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is sort of, I guess both teams have a good chance of sort of qualifying for playoffs at this point, but this is where you really want to establish yourself as one of the stronger teams in the league, sort of show a bit of dominance. Obviously, both teams being on the same points makes it even more important to get a victory here and come out ahead. So it will be interesting to see who ends up winning. Both teams got similar ranked players, so it should be a tight one.
All right, guys, let's jump into our second game of week 4. Once again, we are in the last week of the Swiss. Every one of these games extremely important for establishing who's going to make it through to the playoff stage. The first ban of the game comes out from What Puns, and it's the Ivern. That's probably one I wasn't expecting to see today.
Yeah, not something that I've seen sort of played as much competitively recently, but it is something that does see I have seen a little bit of play on. Works well in a similar way to Nunu for buffing the AD carry, getting the late game, and also has good counter jungle aspect, which after seeing a Nidalee ban as well, this sort of sends the message to me that Nottingham's team really like to play a counter jungling style, as both those champs are very good at that, sort of stealing away enemy camps, getting a lead from that. We see the Skarner, quite a staple pick in the meta at the moment, a lot of CC coming out as a ban, and the Darius as well, which coincidentally, if anyone's watching the ESL Premier right now, it's just been played there as well against a Cho'Gath, so perhaps something that they don't want to go up against, has a lot of laning power. And then a brand ban coming out. Bit of an interesting as well. It feels that the bans coming out from the side of Harriet Watt are very directed, specific bans, directed. 2 of them at the jungler, and I'm not sure if that'll be a support or a mid lane brand, but not bans you sort of see too often, but clearly they've done their research.
Oh, for sure. The Xayah will be the last one coming out as a Zac locked in for Harriet Watt. Now, Orcs, one of the kind of like the big jump out things for me here is that What Puns, you may notice that their player down at the bottom is called the Caterpillar. There's a reason for that, because they are a extremely one-trick Katarina player. I have to wonder if Nottingham have got a plan to deal with the Katarina if it comes out, since they did not ban it, at least in the first phase.
And I think they've just shown that plan. They have picked up the Galio. Galio, an extremely good lane matchup in the Katarina. Both melee champions. Galio has a lot more shoving power. You also can CC the Katarina, so she can't channel her ult, and then gets that magic damage shield and build benefits on build MR. So great matchup in the Katarina. And I guess this is their answer. So it'll be interesting to see if the side of Harriet Watt do commit on their one tricks champion, or if they have to try and mix it up because they don't want to play in the Galio. Both teams have picked up their AD carries. Tristana and Varus, 2 staple picks in this meta, both scaling quite well, but Varus obviously gets the earlier spike, and then a Taric comes down. Taric really solid with the Zac, because if the main thing with Taric is his ult's extremely powerful, but it's only good if you can force an engage, because the other team can disengage, then your ult's pretty useful. So here they have the Zac and the Varus, both with solid amounts of engage in them. They can force a fight while the Taric ult makes your team invulnerable.
It's interesting to see, though, for the side of Nottingham, they've kind of almost got the same kind of idea going. They've got the Galio and the Jarvan together, the engage, the follow-up engage. I'd be fascinated to see how these two teams, with kind of similar ideas in their pockets, play into each other.
Yeah, both teams going for very aggressive engage compositions, so a lot of it comes down to who can execute the best. And then I guess we'll see what comes out in the rest of the draft. The fact that they haven't picked up the Katarina yet does sort of say to me that maybe they're not going to commit so hard on it. Because, I mean, I'm not sure if Nottingham will feel the need to ban it away at this point, because they are banning top laners here. But it seems like they have an answer for it, and it makes me think, what will the Caterpillar play if he isn't able to play Katarina in this situation?
Well, I know the Caterpillar certainly is, from what we've been told, one of the big leaders for Watpan, so I'd expect to see them have... Yeah, well, I think perhaps just anticipating that, the way we're going to be able to scout out a way to deal with the Katarina, probably in multiple fashions. Maybe just try and use that to lure Nottingham into drafting in a particular way. We'll see how well it works out as the 4th pick going to be coming in for Nottingham. What will it be? It will be the Braum locked in. The bottom lane of Nottingham completed.
Yeah, I really like the Braum pick here. High tier pick at the moment as well, to counter the engage hard. Even if you get an engage off, you have to go through the shield. You can't hit the priority targets. And we are seeing the Katarina hover, so it'll be interesting if it comes out. They are just a hover.
They're just teasing us, Orcs. They're teasing. We mentioned the Cho'Gath being played. It is going to come out this time, and yes, maybe we've got some of the ways of dealing with that Cho'Gath taken away. We've yet to see what Caterpillar is going to lock into that mid lane after receiving so much attention during this pick and ban.
Yeah, Cho'Gath is actually a really good tank here, because not only does he provide a lot of follow-up CC, if Zac lands an engage, he can follow up with Rupture, but he can provide a lot of disengage. If there's an engage coming in, he can silence the enemy team. A Braum can't use his shield if he sounds, he's very vulnerable. And then also the ult true damage. Galio and Jarvan, yes, they're going to be quite tanky. I mean, Galio tends to go more AP build now, but the Cho'Gath can just easily burst through a single target, and that can swing a team fight in your favor. Cassiopeia as well, another great disengage champ. A lot of individual damage. The ult just makes it hard to engage on, because obviously if you're facing her, you all get stunned. And then none of them decide to commit with the Trundle pick. Offers a bit of split push, but he's not going to have an insane amount of kill pressure Cho'Gath late game, but it means he can constantly have priority. And then in team fights, if you ult that Cho'Gath, the Trundle becomes nearly unkillable.
It's the super feels bad, man, of knowing that everything that WoW Water Hook on the Cho'Gath builds is just going to be taken away by Mamos. I mean, well, so we've got the big lineups here. We were saying before that the Cho'Gath was able to follow up on the engage. I mean, if we've got both teams trying for a similar kind of idea with the engage, disengage kind of synergies throughout the team, which one of them do you feel like has executed on that idea the best in this draft?
Well, I think both drafts sort of, although they have some ideas in terms of the engaging, I feel like Harry or what have definitely decided to opt for some disengage, because they've realized when they're against Galio Jarvan, they don't have the early pressure. And so they have champions like Cho'Gath and Cassiopeia are going to help a bit when the other team tries to disengage, because they can't do much early. You have immobile carries in the terms of Varus Cassiopeia. If your flash is down and a Jarvan ult you with a Galio ult him, it is so hard to do anything. And I feel like the ball is really in Nottingham's side of the match, just to take this early game. They have the tools to do it. They have the Trundle, who can ult a tank in the mid game and they get shredded. Because obviously mid game, before your AD carry has any pen, tanks are very imposing, but against a Trundle that's not an issue. And they have this insane engage and follow up. So I just feel like they have so much potential in the early game. But then on the other side with Harry Watt, they have these late game carries. Varus doesn't necessarily scale as well as Tristana, but can shred tanks later on. But then Cassiopeia is such a monster in the late game. And when you look at the side of Nottingham, they only really have this Tristana. So definitely one side is going for a more late game focused comp into Harry Watt. And then University of Nottingham have gone for an early game comp and want to make these plays and want to be a bit more aggressive and get a lead and snowball it. Which I think particularly on this patch where Baron is such an important objective. Particularly if you've been watching the LCS, we've seen the effect of using a banner of command on a cannon minion, combined with a Baron can just shred through bases. So I think it's a good idea to go for this early comp where if you get this lead, if you get a Baron, you can take the entire game before the enemy can scale up. But that's the thing, you have to make it work, because if they fall behind, they're going to lock down.
Well, where should we be looking out for as far as, the indicators of early success for Nottingham? Do we see really early ganks from Marwas Jarvan?
I think it's not necessarily going to come out in the form of ganks, because, if he gets ganks off, that's great. but it's about the pressure. Galio needs to have pressure and be facilitated mid. If Jarvan can do that, maybe by getting vision down or providing a gank, so Cassiopeia has to play safe. You want this Galio able to move and without vision contested, because that just means he can influence the rest of the map. Because Jarvan gank in bot lane might be a 3v2, but if you get Galio in a position where he can move whenever he wants, it'll be a 4v2. If you throw the TP from Trundle, 5v2, and the Galio is so impactful. So I think that's what they need to try and do, is just facilitate them. Wait for the Galio 6 and make plays on that. If something happens sooner, if Jarvan get a good gank off, then that's great. That's even better. But I don't think they need to do that. They just need to play around the Galio ult.
We'll be definitely keeping an eye on Nottingham to see how well they execute. Something that's kind of Orcs that's kind of jumping out at me here is the difference between, for Harriet Watt powering the Varus compared to the Tristana, as far as how difficult it's going to be for those AD carries to stay alive once we do hit some of those sort of mid to later game team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. Varus just have the advantage of offering a bit of peel in terms of ult. I mean, Tristana has ult to knock away as well, but Varus can be strong in team fights. But I mean, we all know how immobile he is, especially against a Jarvan. Without your flash, you're so vulnerable. And late in the game, I mean, there's going to be the threat of the Cassiopeia, and it's hard to split focus. But in the early game, it's like that Varus is going to get absolutely run over, whereas Trist has a lot more safety. And I think as well, against something like a Zac, can sort of outplay his engage. If you do manage to move out the way of his jump, or you manage to juke it. But with a Jarvan, if he gets in range to ult you and you don't have your flash, you're trapped in there. And with a Galio coming down from above, not a position you want to be in. So I think maybe that's something Harry Watt could have done and gone maybe a bit of a safe ready carry, particularly when they saw the Galio was coming up, something with a bit more mobility, potentially even a Xayah. Actually, no, I think Xayah was banned away, but something along those lines. But I think the Varus will help them out later on. And I think the main thing is they need to try and do is make some aggressive plays where they have a number advantage, potentially even onto the Galio. If you make a movement of your bot lane towards mid, you go for an aggressive play, and the Galio can't ult himself.
Alright guys, we will do the same thing from before. Going to get the pause up at 10 seconds time. So again, do not be alarmed as you hear the sound of people spawning in. Orcs, if we just sync up there, leave it probably about 10 seconds or so, and then we can get everything underway. Please do let us know in the chat who you think is going to win out here. These are, as always in this Swiss, going to be extremely closely matched teams. So honestly, I'm really looking forward to seeing who's going to come out ahead here. It feels like, for me, it does feel like, the way, have a slight advantage. But Orcs, if you're going to make a prediction, who are you leaning towards?
I would probably say, I'm going to say Watt puns are cringe. I think Harry Watt. I think, yes, University of Nottingham have the tools to make the daily game work, but I feel like that the game is very much on a timer. I think if they make a mistake or throw a lead, or anything goes wrong, they're really going to struggle later in the game. They'll just lack damage. I am ready at 10 seconds, by the way, if you are.
Okay, I'm just going to make sure everything is in place. And we'll get started in just a moment. Okay. Okay, yep. So let's count in. 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, and let's bring you guys, of course, along for the ride as we get started for our second game of the day. Both these teams trying to fight through for a close, but not guaranteed playoff spot. What puns? Over on the blue, you'd end away over on the red.
Yeah, both teams going for a standard sort of defense start. I don't know, we've seen a lot of this lately, but it would be nice to see some teams maybe going for some aggressive vision, see where the other team has started. Particularly on the side of Harriet Watt, you want to know where this Jarvan's going first, because I've seen sometimes Jarvan can actually go for some easy ganks. I could potentially see this going top lane. If you go top lane level 2, and force the Trundle's flash, it's so easy to kill him later on. I think that's something where, although the Trundle won't be able to absolutely smash Cho'Gath, if he gets a lead, he will. And Cho'Gath without that flash is so vulnerable, especially against a Trundle pillar.
Alright guys, we'll see how well we've got, way are able to execute on this early game plan. It looks like we're going to be seeing the start down the bottom from both sides. We will do our best to trying to figure out how to correctly say the jungler name for what puns are cringe. Nettenbana?
Nettenbar?
It's probably changed every single time we say it. He did tell us how to say it before it started. Do apologize for that, but hopefully it'll be clear who we're talking about. Anyway. Alright, so I will do a little bit of the old scoreboard shuffling to make sure everyone's in the right place, so you guys can keep track. Well, I'm really interested as well to see what happens pre-6 up in this top side for what puns. At least while the Cho'Gath's able to work without having all of his stats stolen away and making trading almost impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. I've actually seen this matchup where the Cho'Gath can actually do alright in the Trundle. Because when he uses the ult, you just have to disengage. Obviously, if it's a 2v2, the Trundle does well because he just drains all your stats. But, I mean, Cho'Gath's ult is true damage. So if you try and ult too late or you mistime it, you'll just get killed. And that's the thing why it's difficult, because once the Trundle ults, he has to commit to the fight. And if you ult too late, you might die to the ult. There's a lot of this. I mean, obviously, I think the main counter for it is in team fights. In team fights, the Cho'Gath becomes so much easier to kill, and the Trundle becomes so much tankier when stealing the stats. Whereas I feel like in lane, counter's not too prevalent, especially early levels where the Cho'Gath can shove with his Vorpal spikes.
Well, this is something I wanted to bring up before it kind of becomes an issue in these later game team fights. If you're the side of what puns, how do you kind of, how do you try and keep that subjugate ultimate of MMOs from being a massive issue? How do you disengage against a team like Nottingham?
I think later in the game you can actually kind of ignore the Trundle. He is a threat if he's on your backline, but he's still not going to do that much to your tanks. And I think is the only threat on the side of Nottingham is this. We are seeing aggressive play mid lane.
Yeah, Chicken Chow Kane going down extremely low, forced to flash out early. Wow. Caterpillar showing it off in the mid lane. Gonna get a chance to get some of that free CS. Chicken does have the teleport to get back into lane, so maybe not as significant as it may be otherwise, but still, pretty impressive stuff from Caterpillar.
Absolutely. Counter gank will come in here, though.
Yep, Chicken gonna be able to get a double taunt up. Caterpillar very low on mana, and the first blood actually goes across to Nottingham. Disaster as play turns right on its head.
Yeah, so it was really solid play from Caterpillar to go aggressive. These are some of the picks we do see in the Galio, these sustained damage picks like the Cassiopeia, like the Corki, and does want to shove him out of lane and force his flash, but then didn't respect the fact that you burn all of your mana, and you, then when Zac came in aggressively, maybe overstepped a bit and didn't respect the Jarvan potentially being there, because the Galio would clearly communicate to his Jarvan, I'm going to TP in here, I might need your help, and they end up getting punished as a result. So look like an unfortunate situation with Galio being his flash, but they end up getting a kill out of it, so they can't be complaining.
Yeah, honestly, it seems, just as you said before, smart from what puns to try and force through an advantage in mid lane, but at least Marwab managed to shut that time around, and while after that gank in the mid lane, there's some pretty heavy vision established for Nottingham in the Watts jungle, able to keep track of what Tettenbar is going to be doing for the time being.
Yeah, and that's important against the Zac. It's quite hard to actually ward against the Zac because he has such range on his jump, and there's so many paths he can take on. But if you path his camps, you know where he's going to be. And the key thing is, yes, they've only warded the red side of his jungle, but if he's not in the red side of his jungle, you know he's going to be in the blue side, which they don't have warded. So it gives a very good idea with this much ward coverage exactly where the Zac is. And so it's going to mean that the unit Nottingham can play quite safely against.
Yes, Nottingham have pretty much complete coverage along the bottom there. See if Marwad's able to make an impact anywhere else. As we take a quick glance around. So yes, pre-6, Wild Water Hook, the Cho'Gath to what Puns is able to seize themselves a CS and a trading advantage. You have to feel like that's going. Well, I suppose that's something to bring up, Hawks, is once we do hit the level 6 mark across the board, where are the lanes we should really be keeping our eyes on for the big plays?
Wherever the Galio goes, to be honest. I think the Galio can make such an impact with his ult. I think none of the side lanes really have a massive advantage in the 1v1 or 2v2. Trundle's ult does work really well against Cho'Gath, but Cho'Gath is still tanky. It still puts a lot of damage back in. Just with the Cho'Gath alone, again, just with the Trundle alone, his ult isn't enough to kill the Cho'Gath unless the Cho'Gath misplays. But if the Jarvan comes as well, or the Galio, yes, he can be killed. And it's similar, but you have a lot of CC coming out from the ults. You have the Braum ult, you have the Tana ult for more damage, and then on the other side, you have the Varus ult and the Taric ult. Gives a lot of fighting power, but I don't think either really has the ability to 2v2.
Well, the level 6 Petrifying Gaze comes in and exactly bringing the fight to Chicken in the mid lane will award the kill back to Watpuns. Really nice combo play, a little reminiscent of last game.
Yeah, really smart play actually to go for the mid lane play. This is the thing, if you make a play bot lane, if you go aggressive, the Galio is going to turn up. If you make a play on the Galio, there's no one to turn up to save him. I mean, obviously the Jarvan can be there, but you're avoiding the fact of getting outnumbered, which I think is huge here. So successful bank coming out from Harriet Watt. Again, coming out from Harriet Watt, and they're starting to get some gold on this Cassiopeia. Important.
Yes, it feels like that is important, particularly after the gank going wrong in the mid. However, down bot lane, it looks like, the way are going to try and make up for lost time. The two bottom laners relatively close together. Maybe we're going to see them both locked inside the Cataclysm. There's no 6 for the Watts side over on the bottom. So they're going to have to be careful here. Mawa's still waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Perhaps waiting for the level 6 to tick across on the bottom laners. No, instead decide to go for it. The stun comes out, won't catch Mawa. And the tower dive almost teased there. We have got Netembar off to the side with a Zac in case things got more out of hand.
Yeah, really unfortunate. It was a good attempt, but they kind of misplayed on the execution. Didn't manage to land the CC, and so Harriet Watt's bot lane will just manage to escape. It is actually really risky though. If they get caught out by anything, the Galio was waiting in the river to be able to assist. So, as much as they did manage to step out that CC, it would have been very detrimental, if any, if it landed.
Oh, for sure. I was just waiting to see if they would commit. Perhaps we'll see similar situations like that in the future turn out much worse, as a top laner is going to go for some pretty brutal trades. There comes down the first ult, and what a hook flashing away. I think he might get ticked away. Good knock up there to keep Mimosa from finalizing the kill, taking a lot of tower aggro. Goes down very well. He's very fortunate. Netembar not in a position to punish that tower dive.
Yeah, I think the Cho'Gath just over-trading a bit with the Trundle there. Probably should have used his Rupture to disengage sooner. And that's the thing, if you get to the point for either side where you're low enough for the other to ult, then you're in a dangerous position. And obviously, Mimosa punishes and forces to flash here, but unfortunately just flash himself, so it doesn't come out too far ahead of that, even though he was winning the trade.
We have got the TP cooldowns coming back in for Nottingham right now. The chance for that global play still up and ready. How well do you think Watpuns have been able to control what Chicken Chow Kane's been able to do from the mid lane?
I think it's incredibly well. They've punished Galio, they put pressure on him, they put ganks on him, and they have good vision control around him, and it just feels like he has made no impact. Granted, he's only level 7, he hasn't had the ult for a long time. But the longer this goes on, the better it is for side of Watpuns. And as you can see, actually, the Cassiopeia is looking to make a roam here. Might be a bit risky, though. It has been clocked out, and the Galio will look to follow if she does go all the way.
Yes, I think Ambitious getting spotted out by Control Ward in the bushes there. But still, I'm liking the idea that Watpuns will, try and be proactive, even without the semi-global presence of a Galio. It does make you wonder, though, if Watpuns are the ones to make the play first, which they're going to do now in the mid lane, again, taking the fight to the Galio. Mama is there. Lovely ult coming out, catching Chicken, but it's just a little bit too tanky with those tanky items to be able to be taken down by that particular play.
Yeah, that's the thing. Cassiopeia has to build up her items before she gets too much damage. And wasn't really able to cut through this Galio when she's only really sitting on mana, no extra AP. And this Galio is very tanky. As soon as Jarvan turned up, they were forced to disengage. But this is the thing, they're pressuring the Galio. He's now without his flash, he's now pushed to the tower, not able to roam on the map. And this is huge for the side of Harriet Watt because they do want to scale into the late game.
Yeah, and as well, the Caterpillar are going to have a CS lead in the mid. Chicken really, I think, feeling the pressure, though, has got the TP, might be forced to TP back to lane or lose more. Up on the top side, though, we've got What a Hook going to be caught out. The Cataclysm does come in, but it's very much 2v1. Cho'Gath will be taken to pieces by Mawa. That's their second kill of the game, and pushes UON just ever so slightly into the lead.
And this is the sort of situation that's so bad for Cho'Gath. You don't have your flash, you're against a Trundle and a Jarvan who can create this terrain. You're so big, you can't walk around it. And in a 2v1, they have the damage to kill you. Looks like they're going to contest this dragon.
Up for the taking, nice Hero's Entrance. Caterpillar down very low mana as well. First Order pouring in the damage from the side. Chicken Cow Cane securing the kill. And just as predicted earlier on, Nottingham able to move their whole team into one area, and it works out pretty darn well for them, getting 2 for nothing. Flash in from Mara. Facade gonna get knocked up, nowhere to go but the grave. First Order gets that kill forced through, and you know the way is suddenly looking a lot better.
Yeah, really smart play. It was a smart play to go for the dragon because the other team on the other side of the map, but Mara was so smart there. Moved all the way from top down towards the dragon to contest, and as a result they managed to punish. Something that's interesting was the Cho'Gath actually TP'd top lane instead of TPing to assist the fight, and I think that's the thing, you know. The side of Nottingham knew what was going down, they knew the dragon was going to be fought, and they knew they wanted to take it, and so they all made an effort to be a 5-man there. Whereas on the side of Harriet Watt, they only had 4 members, and no matter what the situation is, it's going to be hard to win a 4v5.
Alright, so now we've got the kill down for First Order, the Tristana for Nottingham. I'll be very interested to see how much of a difference that's going to make in the laning phase. I mean, we've got a Static Shiv and a BF Saw completed against just the component items for Woody is washed up AD carry for What Puns. Do you think this is going to make a big difference as far as the trading goes? Yeah,
I mean, it's the worst situation to be in as a Varus. Ginsu is an insane one-item spike, but until you get the one item, it's so bad. And then on the other side, Fist has the BF sword, giving a lot of AD, and then the Static Shiv, which has quite a lot of proc damage at this point.
Wait a second, we've got a play coming in bottom side, and Zac using the crowd control to lock both of them in place. Marwa getting knocked up for just a second, but Woody staying so far back, can't do too much of anything. Nottingham have moved that bottom lane with those completed items up to the top to try and provide more pressure. That first tower down at the bottom means the Tristana pushing power will now be applied elsewhere until more of that standing gold goes into Nottingham's pocket.
Yeah, which is huge. This is what the comp needs to be doing. They have a Tristana that can take towers so well, and they need that early pressure.
Well, Stendenbar goes in under the tower, though. No respect from What Puns, as we got Woody from the side. It's a lot of tower damage being absorbed by Stendenbar, but does not get popped. Facade on the wrong side of the tower there. Mara could come in for the punish. Shield comes out just at the last second. Facade so low, but no follow-up from Nottingham.
Yeah, they go aggressive for their kills, and as a result, they aren't hit the tower. They escape on low HP, but on the top side of the map, this Tristana is just chunking away at this tower, and you're going to end up 2 towers down if you don't do something.
Yes, What Puns in real trouble here of losing tower number 2, as well as the top laner. Wow, with a hook, gonna flash away from some of that damage, try and finish out the minions, but there's no help. Gonna try go 1v2. Will we see a feast coming out here? First Order staying as far away as possible, and no flash available for the big play.
Yeah, another unfortunate situation where the dive was misplayed slightly. Tristana actually grabbed aggro as the dive started, and as a result, it had to back off and lose the aggro. But they didn't end up getting a kill, so both sides maybe misplaying these dives a bit, and the game stays in a similar state, although Nottingham still 3,000 gold ahead.
We've talked about the scaling for What Puns. We've started to get some of those items completed. We've got the Rod of Ages coming out for Caterpillar. We've got the Gwinsu's Rage Blade for Woody is washed up. That little power trough of those completed non-items going to be evaded for the time being, as Watts move up their bottom to top to match Nottingham. At least the top tower does still stand, but for Nottingham, their top tower extremely low as well.
Yes, in the normal circumstances, the Varus Ginsu is a huge spike. Because of the tower gold that's been given over the side of Nottingham, Tristana is 1,000 gold ahead and has more damage in this situation. So, although it's a nice spike and it's going to equalize things a bit, you're still not in the position you want to be. We'll go for an aggressive play here, though.
Chain of Corruption comes down to try and lock under the Braum, but a turnaround play onto Facade, locked in the Cataclysm. Zac just a little bit too late to make any kind of difference. And another sign of Nottingham turning a play back upon itself.
Yeah, I think it's just trying to be too aggressive from the side of Harriet Watt. You are in a difficult position to make a play here. I don't think you're trying to go this aggressive because you are looking to scale. And as a result, given that Taracle, not having him to help against the dive, you end up losing another tower. And they're now in a position where they're 4,000 gold behind.
Okay, so 16 minutes in, 4,000 gold ahead. We knew this is what Nottingham were trying to look for. Do you think, is it enough to be able to roll them into, the post 20-minute mark kind of gameplay?
This is exactly the point you want to be at in the game if you're on the side of Nottingham. But whether it's enough, it comes down to what they do next. Next Dragon is coming up soon, and it is an Infernal Drake, which is huge for any team trying to be relevant in the late game. So they need to secure that, potentially even take a fight off it as well. And this is where it's difficult for the side of Harriet War. They want to scale, they need time. Do they give this Dragon up and look to scale, or do they contest it? And I think this could be the side of the game. Because if it does go over the side of Nottingham, and the team fights one as well, they'll be so far ahead that when Baron spawns, it'll be hard to contest it.
And that gold lead for Nottingham being invested in some pretty heavy items. Warmog's completed for Marwa. We've got the crit starting to really come into effect for First Order. I have to imagine that a team fight with that Tristana pumping out all that critical damage is going to be pretty nasty to deal with. As a nice aggroing of the Infernal Drake will keep things at bay for the moment. Caterpillar, though, going to be a bit coarse, forced to flash away. Counter engage coming back in. Doesn't hit anybody, and it feels like Watt have lost a lot of their teeth coming into this fight. Knock up on to First Order, but counter aggression coming out. The Radiance coming down. Woody just survives with a very minimum of health, but the Cataclysm is still up, and Marwa takes the kill. The teeth being torn from Watt puns as the kills flowing in. What a hook, trying and successfully will get away, but Nettenbar will not be the same case. Hook chase under the tower, surely it's going to be it. There we go, the Pillar of Ice makes the kill stick, and Nottingham win out big time.
Really unfortunate situation, being so far behind as Harriet Watt were there. It's so difficult to get a good team fight, especially when, I mean, you saw how it went. They got a good Taracle off, but they couldn't get any damage back into the side of Nottingham. The tanks just sort of chilled and waited for the Taracle to run out, and then the Galley ult came down. And as a result, instead of just giving up the Infernal Drake, they lose mid-tower and several kills, 4, and the Infernal Drake as well. And now they're so far behind, it's going to be really difficult for them. And with Baron spawning in 1 minute, it's not looking good for this side of Harriet Watt.
Yes, I have to feel like we might be looking at something a little bit earlier than expected Baron-wise in this game. All 3 of those outer towers have gone down, at least for the side of the Watts. There isn't, I don't think we're going to be seeing an attempt on taking a last-second Herald. We'll see. Certainly, there are a couple of Nottingham members in the area. They'll have to work quickly, though, if they want to be able to throw a Herald at a Tier 2 tower.
Yeah, I mean, I have about 15 seconds to pick it up. Maybe not enough time, but they are going to go for it, so don't think that the side of Harriet Watt will be able to compete because they have put their bot line in the side of the map. This is a smart move, though. Your bot lane having 2 members and your AD carry being good at taking objectives, tend to place your bot lane where you want to take an objective. And as a result, they want to be on the opposite side of Nottingham. They're too weak to contest them, they just want to trade. And yes, they give up the Herald, but they end up taking a tower in return, which is the first of the game.
That's true, just a little bit of standing gold. I'd be fascinated to see where Nottingham decide to throw down at this Rift Herald, where they think they can get the most damage down in a hurry. Baron now up. I'll have a quick look across and see what the next Drake's going to be. Yes, oh wow, an Infernal Drake coming up in just a few minutes' time would be incredible for Nottingham to be able to stack those up.
Yeah, and this is where the issue comes. I feel like if Harriet Watt had given up the first Infernal Drake and looked to contest the second, it might have been a decent situation, but they're now so far behind, and they have to contest the second one.
Chicken is going to be the recipient of a whole heap of crowd control walking across the map, but now very difficult to get away from. Chicken, I think, doesn't quite get off the hero's entrance. I thought it was for a second as we got another play onto Marwa, flash in, locked against the tower. Cho'Gath coming in from the side, Cosmic Radiance channeling down, buying enough time. Marwa jumps away with a flag and drag, but Max has to give up their life. Maybe a move in on the mid-side tower here. And some more gold in the pocket of Watt Puns.
Yeah, it looks like they might get engaged on again here.
Nice, Ettenbar makes a absolutely perfect grab there. First order taken to pieces. Mamos barely gets away. There are a couple of minions here, but I don't know if what can take anything more out of this.
And this is a really unfortunate situation. Your Galio gets caught out. It was a good play from the side of Harry Watt, but you need to say, right, we made a misplay, let's just let it happen. But instead, Jarvan tries to go a dangerous route to protect the mid tower, gets caught out again, and then Trist tries to defend the tower and ends up getting caught out. And instead of just losing one member, you've lost 3 and a tower. And now it's given some light to the side of Harry Watt, because this is what they want. They want to have more gold in their carries, they want more time to scale, and they've just bought that by winning that team fight.
Yeah, we've nearly got... Well, there we go. We've got the completed Archangel's Staff now in the pocket of Caterpillar. A real chance for Watt Puns to be able to make good on the promise of their team all the way back from Champion Select. Does at least seem like they've got the position now to defend any force early Barons, at the very least.
Yeah. Herald will come down bot lane, and doesn't look like it'll be contested with this Trundle, so it looks like they're just going to take that inner tower here.
Yes, there's actually nobody at all to really go through and hit that weak point, take away some of that tower pushing damage. We have got WoW with a hook coming in down the bottom, but Caterpillar being threatened by Marwa. You can see the tier 2 evaporated in seconds. Makes me wonder if Nottingham might look to get anything more. Certainly, we've got the fight brewing around the Baron pit. The aggressive jump across from First Order could have been caught out by a stun.
Yeah, so this is a time where it's a lot more favourable to be ahead. Nottingham know this. They're putting pressure around Baron. They're clearing the vision. And then Harry Watt feel obliged to try and contest it. One of the issues is, though, they've completely walked past this ward in the pit. The sweeper just glanced past it and didn't manage to catch it. So Harry Watt know whether the Baron's being done, so won't have a need to contest it unless it's started up.
A very smart wall placement could be crucial for this game. But now we've got a chance to take a breather. Let's take a look across and see how everything is looking. We've certainly got a very Warmogs heavy game, as Watt Pun's able to complete Warmogs on both the tanky top laner and jungler. As we've mentioned before, the items getting completed for Caterpillar. How do you, I mean, even though, Nottingham have got the goal lead, how do you feel like the items are measuring up across the board?
Well, I think they really need Triss to be on a 3-item spike to be super relevant. Cassiopeia's now finished stacking her scaling items, the Rod of Ages, and Sarah, so she's putting out a lot of damage. Varus is on his 2-item strike, 2-item spike, which is very happy with, lots of on-hit damage. Triss, because she is the main carry on the side of Nottingham, she needs 3 items. She's really going to be cutting through everyone on the other team. And I think they need to sort of wait for that to happen. Currently sitting at 400 gold, so next time she recalls, she will be able to pick that up. And that's when they maybe want to look for a team fight. Next Infernal Drake is up in 20 seconds, so you know what? That's perfect timing. And they need to go take that team fight, burst out someone extremely fast. If it's a tank, use Trundle, and just try and snowball off that, and they can get a Baron. And that's sort of their win condition. If they wait any longer, or they lose another fight, they're at risk of getting outskilled.
Both teams... Oh wow, wait a second, Caterpillar are going to get caught out, forced to use the ult early, but this could be a good play for Watt. They get the double knockup coming through, Cosmic Radiance being channeled out, but by the time the fight starts, Cosmic Radiance is in full effect. Multi-person knockup, Facade down very low, damage pouring through though. That gets the crowd control chain coming through, and Wildwood Hook gets the kill. Caterpillar as well. Watt Puns may have just found their way back into the game. Chicken gonna get caught. So I thought Chicken was gonna be able to get away from that one, but for Nottingham, they're only able to try and stop this from getting worse. Fight under attack. Chicken does get the double knockup, but the Zac coming back in, re-engage. Watt Puns survive on low health, but survive they do, and Infernal Drake will be their prize, while Mamos, for the side of Nottingham, will continue to push, but not as successfully.
Yeah, really excellent team play coming out from the side of Harry Watt. The Taracle was huge, and unfortunately, because of that lost team fight earlier and the scaling, Cassiopeia was putting out a lot of damage, as was the Varus when that Taracle came down. So it bought enough time for them to win the team fight, and Nottingham just didn't have the DPS. Only the Triss was putting out damage, and she wasn't able to hit for a lot of the team fight because Zac was providing CC, Cho'Gath was providing CC, and now they pick up the Infernal Drake, and that is what you want to do. because 2 Infernal Drakes for any side is a huge scaling issue, but now they've equalized, they're in a much better position. All they have to do is stop the enemy team taking Baron, stop the enemy team from taking the next Infernal, and they can definitely outscale for the rest of the game. If they get an aggressive play, if they get a Baron or Infernal themselves, or a good team fight, even better. But right now, Nottingham are really under fire to try and close out this game because the scaling is definitely not helping them out.
Well, Orcs, last time round, that big team fight that seems to have turned things for Watpans, we saw a fight taking place in a very, very confined area. I mean, do you think that was due to Nottingham getting a couple of members caught out, or do you think any fight in a confined area could be tricky for them?
I think any fight in a confined area is tricky because it's so hard to move past the Miasma and the Cassiopeia.
Speaking of, there was almost a fight breaking out there as we've got Nottingham swarming around the mid lane. Well, it looks like this next fight could be in a more opened up area as Waterhook's going to go and try for the engage, forces out the Glacial Fissure from Max on the side of Nottingham, and that's a pretty cheaply bought ultimate, I feel.
I feel like they had to do it because the Cassiopeia now has the Rylai, she's ghosted. Yes, you don't want to have to use the ult because it makes your team fight weaker, but if you don't disengage the Cassiopeia, she's going to keep chasing, and the issue is you can't... Oh, comes out from Varus.
A little bit, not quite what they wanted for, but here's the fight breaking out next to the river. Nottingham look like they want to try and keep their distance, and so far they've managed to successfully do so, have got a chance to transition to that tier 2 mid turret.
Yeah, both teams doing a bit of push and pull. Each messed up engage will give the other team pressure, and Nottingham can push mid and get a tower in return. But it's still difficult for them to get on top of the Cassiopeia, who's now level 15, extremely strong and so much disengaged. They're looking for the mid tower though.
Yeah, the pushers come through in big style. Huge ultimate draws in 3 members of Nottingham, but they're still tanky enough to shrug it off for the moment. Cosmic Radiance coming out, but the damage has pushed through. Marwa goes down, as does First Order. Now Mimosa is going to be forced onto the tower and absolutely filleted by Woody is washed up.
Huge overcommit, not respecting the fact that Zac could have been behind them. And the Galio helped to buy them some time, but it wasn't enough. And the Cassiopeia and Varus have so much consistent DPS, shredded through the side of Nottingham. And the reward here is most likely going to be Baron. Galio doesn't even think he can seal up the queue and just walks off, so they will take the Baron here. And they cut through it so fast for the team.
It's crazy. What a great turnaround there, because it felt like Nottingham had got Watt's number, able to, to force away Watts from their own inhibitor tower. I thought we were going to be looking at maybe even a taken inhibitor, but that team fight just turning around so quickly. And now I guess we've seen, even in an open area, Watpans are still able to compete head-to-head.
Yeah, I feel like at this point you're really struggling to find any team fight. They're going to have to contest the next Infernal Drake, because if you give over 2 Infernals to a scaling comp with a Cassiopeia, I mean, it's going to be really difficult. But I'm not even sure they'll get to that point. Baron's pushing in now, and they have the fabled Banner of Command Baron minion. You can see it walking up mid. This thing decimates turrets, and it's so hard to deal with. Oh, and it gets minion demonetized, so good call from the Braum to save them up. It's a technique being seen recently, is that you save up your minion dematerializers till late in the game. When one of these minions gets planted, you can just kill it instantly. So, smart move from the Braum to have that ready. And, that'll stall this Baron out a bit longer. They won't be able to they won't be able to shred through towers quite so quickly. And you can see they just cut through the minions when they push up.
Yeah, the really smart adaptive play from Nottingham to be able to realise what the possibilities are here and go after them. Worth noting as well, as we've got the Banner of Command in the pocket of Max to maybe be able to make a push out. I don't know which lane it will be able to make too much progress in now, considering the amount of pressure that Puns are putting down.
Yeah, and the problem is that they're waiting for the Cassiopeia to get here, but they need the full team to get here and to push up and protect these minions, because they're just given space for First Order to cut through them. This Trist has got a fair few items, 3.5 here, and so although the minions are Baron buffs, she still manages to shred through them.
It's just as before, the minions not lasting for any amount of time. Still gonna be just under a minute before we get that next Drake up and in play. I wonder if Watpans are just trying to buy space to push back Nottingham and make them less able to contest this Drake.
Yeah, it's a smart move. You can obviously clear out all the vision and then makes it really hard to face check. Issue is though, two well played. Oh, they are actually one of them's just a zombie ward, so that'll obviously get cleared out when they move back. And you can see there's not going to be much vision in the dragon area. So when Harry Watt decided back off for that, looks like they're going for it now. Nottingham, we're going to really struggle to face check into them, especially when you're dealing with the likes of Zac, Cassiopeia, which you don't want to walk into a brush. Another banner minion is coming out here.
But at least
Braum will dematerialize it. Yep, there it goes.
Yes, very briefly full as well, but I think accomplished what it needed to. And as predicted, What Pun's making a move in towards that Infernal Drake. That's going to be a whole heap of damage, another 8%. Particularly the Caterpillar is going to be heinous to deal with in these team fights.
Yeah, the Cassiopeia is now sitting on 640 AP. Gonna have so much damage.
First Order trying to at least discourage What Puns from going and taking a tab, but the Baron buff is still in effect for the moment. The push in top and bottom. What a Hook hasn't been able to make too much progress, but the minions still getting cleared out relatively quickly. What Puns are going to need to put down more pressure to try and get through. They will make a catch onto First Order, who goes down extremely low but does not die. Mawa goes in with the Cataclysm. Cosmic Radiance is there to stop any aggression. Facade drops down and makes sure they stay alive. Nice pickup there for What Puns.
I think that was the best situation Nottingham could ask for. They got the carries trapped in a Cataclysm, trapped in a Galliwall underneath the tower. But the Taracle saves the day, and it just shows how hopeless these they are getting a good team fight with the scaling on the side of Harry Watt.
We have got at least for the side of Nottingham, but the Facade being low on health, but I don't think there's going to be any real method to be able to punish. They do at least hold on to those inhibitor turrets, and of course inhibitors themselves, which feel like it could have been a little dicey for a while back there.
Yeah, I mean, they do manage to wait out the Baron, but the issue is they're not a scaling composition. If the roles were reversed, Harry will be extremely happy about waiting out Baron. They know that they can just outscale and buy more time. But on the side of Nottingham, yes, they can buy more time, but what are they waiting for? It's going to be really difficult to find a situation where they win a team fight. We're now looked at the Cassiopeia on 4 items, just picked up that Leandries. She's going to shred through any tanky member put in front of her.
Yeah, the Rylai's as well, just to make the AoE really difficult to deal with for the side of Nottingham. I mean, glancing around and seeing how the items are looking, the only kind of bright spot I'm really seeing here is that First Order has been doing exceptionally well on the CS, but the 6 kills for Woody is washed up on the Varus feels like it more than makes up for that CS differential.
Yeah, especially the if you look at the difference in goal, he is ahead. He does have a decent goal lead, and his items are better. But he is the only carry on the side of Nottingham. And the reason being is that Galio hasn't been picking up these mid-waves, and you can see the Cassiopeia has a lot of CS herself, and is so strong. Incredibly scaling champion. And the thing is, once a Tristana hits 5 items, that's their only carry full build. You have 2 carries on the side of Harry Watt, and one of them is a Cassiopeia, who can actually go a full 6 items, doesn't need to buy boots, has that built into her kit, so, you know, really difficult. Needs to have some huge plays from First Order, and honestly, they need to find a situation where they burst out someone squishy. If they manage to kill the Tarek before he ults, if they manage to kill one of the carries before the Taracle comes down, that's the only real win condition.
We've seen Facade go down extremely low in these team fights. Yeah, I mean, a team fight without the Cosmic Radiance coming out at the right time feels like it might be winnable for Nottingham, but I mean, for an ultimate, the Tarek ult that's traditionally extremely difficult to time correctly in a team fight, and as you even pointed out before the game started, that Nottingham can just walk away from their fights. It's been, so far from Facade, they've been exceptionally well done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just the amount of engage. The Zac and the Varus are such a threat, and there's so much lockdown. Once the Taracle comes, once that engage comes down, it's so hard to get away from the Taracle. And it becomes so difficult when everyone in the enemy team is invulnerable. We have seen the Trundle go for Blade of the Rune King to help out a split push for the Cho. Problem is, I'm not sure if it's enough at this point. Yes, he's going to have a better chance against him, but the Cho can just back off and wave clear. And in the meantime, the rest of Harriet Watt are looking to engage.
We've got Watpuns trying to drive away Nottingham from the Baron, while the top laners continue the brawl that's been going on all game long. What a hook. It's going to lose out as the subjugate comes down. There's no tower to take shelter under. What a hook has got the flash, but wants to hold off on it if at all possible. Flash in from Amo is going to be responded to. The pillar comes down. What a hook going down low. I think we might be looking at a solo kill here. Knockup will come through. And the ultimate gets the job done with a little help from the tower.
Oh, what a turn from What a Hook. Mimosa knew this was his win condition. He had to get this play. And he nearly gets the 1v1, but the damage from the tower and the turn from the Cho'Gath, that true damage, devastating. It's given them a 5v4 advantage to start this Baron.
Baron goes down immediately. That Mountain Drake, double Infernal, an incredibly potent combination for raw power for Watpuns. Now able to make their way back out into the mid, try and recover a little bit of map position. Let's have a quick check-in. It is going to be the Elder Dragon, of course, at this stage. As Orcs mentioned before, once you get more than one Elder Dragon, they will start becoming even more effective. So picking up this first one will be enormously important for either side, even with Nottingham only having one Elemental Drake. Caterpillar gonna get caught out, does drop down the ult just in time. Gonna get knocked up once again, but the counter engage comes in from Watpuns. They make the catch onto Mawa, who is annihilated. Now they're gonna pick up another member, Max, taken down so low that Mawa gets the kill first order. No one to protect them anymore. It's gonna get taken out for the double kill, and maybe they don't even need an Elder Dragon to push into the base of Nottingham.
Such a difficult situation. You find the Cassiopeia alone, an opportunity to pick her. And it's so hard to pull off. She has both of her summoners, she has such good disengage, and I have to respect Nottingham for going for the play. That is what you need to sort of do to turn around the game. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out, and they're going to lose so much for it. But I feel like if they'd given up the Elder Drake, the game would have been over anyway. And now, Harriet Watt are looking to finish with two banner-empowered minions.
Yes, the banner is strong in this one. As Nexus Tower number 1 goes down, Chicken does avoid getting knocked up. Caterpillar going to be aggressive once again. Cosmic Radiance coming out, going to buy the time to avoid the Galio ult entirely. Health bar's dropping, but it won't matter because the only health bar that really counts is a Nexus, and that is at 0. Whew.
Yeah, well played, Harriet Watt. Managed to wait for the right opportunity to get back into the game. There's a good start from the team from Nottingham. They did manage to get a bit of momentum in the early game, but made one too many mistakes, and they just lost out the scaling game.
Alright guys, because we are running a little bit behind schedule, we'll be trying to get into our next game with the top table Bristol Palace. So please do stay tuned, and we'll be back with that game as soon as it is available.
Feel so free, just believe we can come alive. We're so far from the ground, but I'm not looking down. Feel the warmth of the breeze rushing over me. Now we're soaring high, reach and touch the sky.
Alright guys, welcome back for our very last game of the day. Bristol Palace against Sussex. Now both of these teams both extremely high ranked. I believe at this point that they are in almost certainly going to have a place in the playoffs, but what their seeding will be can depend pretty heavily on this last game.
Just to note quickly, the border is on the wrong side. Bristol Palace is on right.
Oh, that's right, yes, I'll get that changed over in just a second. Thank you for that.
Seeing some fairly standard bands here. Seeing the Scion, massive pick in the top lane. But Jaffe is going very fast here. The Zac will be picked up. Makes sense when Jarvan and Sejuani off the page. The Corki coming out. Bit of a weird one because he did ban the Galio, and Corki is very effective against Galio, but clearly something that Cheng Tang is comfortable on. Definitely a really strong scaling champion, and Cheng Tang is someone who likes to carry those later game team fights. So, interesting pick to come out this early though. Don't often see the likes of Corki pick this early. Tend to see champions like Azir and Ryze earlier rotations.
We know that Cheng Tang has a distinct habit of trying to carry late game team fights, but the Vi coming out from Bristol Palace, that's the first time I've seen the Vi in a very long time.
Yeah, did get some changes not too long ago to make it slightly stronger, but didn't really make that much of a resurgence. Very aggressive pick, and on the other side they're going to pick up Xayah, which is a great pick to have against the Vi. As obviously when the Vi ults you can cast your ult and disengage it. So, good counter pick coming out already for this Vi. Interesting to see what support they pick up. Not going for the Xayah Rakan, which is a bit of a rarer thing. Wait, do you actually decide to go for their mid laner here instead? Still leaving the support a bit ambiguous, which I think is a good thing, because if you, it means the other side really has to ban the Rakan away. Otherwise, they do give you that devastating combo. Clearly, the side of Sussex not wanting to leave their mid till the late rotations. Haste of the picks got banned out. Orianna, a good laning phase into Corki, can trade quite well with regards to auto attacks because of a passive. And then the side of Bristol Palace are going to pick up Varus. So both teams sort of trading similar roles. Obviously, not wanting to get a bad matchup going into the second phase of draft. Everything we've seen fairly standard apart from the Vi, and Tom Kent is going to get banned away. Again, something that could be a problem for the Varus or Vi. Both have high impact single target ults, and you don't want your target to get eaten out of that instant.
Orcs, it feels almost like the Vi maybe could have been left for a little bit later in the draft to kind of preclude the need to provide bans to stop the Vi from being countered.
Absolutely. There may have been an argument that they didn't want to pick something else sooner. They didn't want to necessarily pick the 4 up. I mean, it seems a bit weird to me because I feel like you could have picked a Braum there, and a Braum would have been great. But they opted to pick the Vi, I guess to hide their hand. But I think giving away the Vi, yeah, as you said, wasn't the best idea, because it's something that has to work into the right comps. And I think against Desire it's a bit tricky. Orianna a bit of a better champion for Vi to punish. And they will pick up the Braum later on. So yeah, it makes complete sense. They could have picked the Braum up early and left the Vi till later. But clearly confident in this pick and wanting to make it work.
Something that's jumping out at me here is that the Sussex defenders have banned out 2 top lane picks. That's directed at yet another scrub, the newest member of the Bristol Palace team. Actually a very big Shen player and a very map focused. So to lose out on that Shen, I talked to the Bristol beforehand, they didn't expect to see the Shen getting banned out, and as well the Yorick. I wonder if that might diminish the presence of yet another scroll up there, as they're now going to be going up against the Aatrox of all champions.
Yeah, Aatrox is an interesting one. I did actually see this recently in the UK Prem. I saw it played into Trundle counter pick, because the Aatrox you can build as a fighter and can actually beat him in the 1v1. But it's a bit of a weird one here, blind. Guess it's Chappie's power pick, so it'll be interesting to see what they bring up in response. And I'm guessing the Bard is going to be a placeholder. Not sure if it's going to get remade here, because a Bard top seems like a bit of a weird pick to bring up.
It does seem a bit of a surprise. Certainly, well, As far as I'm under, yes, there we go. I think you did call it successfully. So we'll be jumping back in it to pick and ban in just a second. Let's see what they've been saying in the chat as to who that bard was supposed to represent, and we'll get things underway. Let's see. All right, we'll update you guys as soon as that is available. But at least we've got. Oh, okay, it's going to be a substitute pick for the Maokai, so we'll get back into the pick and ban phase in just a second. And we're also, yes, we're also going to try and confirm that Aatrox is in fact Aatrox. Oh, yes, it is. All right, so
just
we've got...
just wanted to check. Might as well ask while we're here.
It's not a guaranteed thing necessarily. Okay, this will be Orcs. I think this will be literally the first time I've ever seen Aatrox into Maokai.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I've seen it either. I think the matchup would be all right. I think one of the major things is that prior to some changes, Aatrox did really bad into Maokai because you'd root the Aatrox, and then when he tried to leap, you could interrupt it with your Q. But it's actually been changed, so you can't interrupt it as easily, if at all, I think. So Aatrox is a lot more reliable into Maokai, a much better escape, because one of the assets that Maokai has, apart from being a great team fighter, is such an insane lockdown that if you're laning against a Maokai, it's really easy for him to just lock you down, jungler turns up, suddenly you're in a 1v2 situation. Particularly when you have a Vi on your side, he pumps out a lot of damage. Whereas now, Aatrox has possible escape. And just seen an Amumu get locked in, so I think that was a mistake.
A surprising development, because yes, as far as we were aware for Sussex, there were no placeholders.
Looks like a misclick, and we are going to be going into another draft phase in just a second. Sorry about that, guys.
Third time's the charm. But yes. Oh, hello, I think they've started without one of their players this time. Yes, they have. Okay, well, hey, boy. Well, you guys didn't see that one, so it doesn't count. Hopefully we'll get... I think these... Well, if we're going to be the most charitable about it possible, I think there is definitely a degree of tension here for both these teams, as much as they're kind of joking around in the chat. This is a deeply important game for both of them. Even if we're seeing surprises coming out here, the results of this game could be between, could make the difference between in the playoff stages playing against the #1 team in your first round and therefore getting knocked out then and there, and being able to actually make it through to something like the semi-finals or even the finals themselves.
Yeah, I think it's also a mentality thing, going into it knowing how strong you are, because we don't know how these teams will be playing, who they've been scrimming, who they've been matching up against, and this is a good test to say, look, this is another team similar in the standings, and we want to prove that we're better than, prove that we're one of the top teams looking to take it all. With regards to the draft, I'm trying to remember actually.
It's a little bit mixed up at this point.
Yeah, we've bounced out twice. It's quite tricky. Talking back about the top lane matchup, I think Aatrox does pretty well into Maokai. Maokai obviously scaling to be a huge team fight tank. Aatrox not quite as good, but in the mid game can definitely put out a lot of damage. And a good follow up on the Zac. Obviously, Zac can go in, Aatrox can follow up. And the thing is, with both of them, you have to kill twice with Undying passive, so really potent for dives and good targets for the Orion Shockwave.
I've had a quick check into the Aatrox Dark Flight that you were talking about before. So I think we'll have to, we'll see how this plays out in reality. From what I'm reading here, the Dark Flight is unstoppable during the descent. So I think whereas before the Maokai would be able to kind of knock up Chappelle's Aatrox at any point during the Dark Flight and it would just fizzle. Now, as long as Chappelle can, actually take flight in the first place, he'll be able to actually get away from some of these ganks.
Yeah, and it's so hard to sort of counteract the ascent because it's such a small window, especially with Maokai's Q, which has a bit of travel time because it starts backwards and moves forwards. And I mean, obviously the issue before is Aatrox would dash up and he would travel a distance down. So if you Q, as long as your Q and his dash are going at the same time, it'll get interrupted. Whereas with the flight up, it's a stationary vertical position, so it's so hard to clip it. I'll be very impressed if we do see it throughout this game. There is obviously an element to look to it, but it's obviously a lot better for Aatrox in this matchup now. Similarly, the Vi would be problematic, but now Aatrox isn't going to struggle as much. Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting game here because unlike last game where there was a very clear scaling on both sides, I don't think there is so much in this game. I mean, we see some aspects. Maokai is going to be a better late game team fighter than Aatrox. Zack's going to be more useful than Vi. Mid lane's kind of evenly matched. Both have strengths and weaknesses in the late game. Xayah does outweigh Varus. I mean, it's just, both sides have strengths and both have weaknesses. How they play around them. I think the huge thing is the advantage that Bristol has in the mid game is the fact that Varus has such an impactful ult. Corki has his package, Vi's ult, impact. I feel like that's what they're looking for. They're going to look for these level 6 spikes. They're going to be looking to make plays and they get a lead of that. And the thing is, if you get a lead onto these carries, if you get early spikes on Varus, he's going to shred through the enemy team. And so that's what I'd like to see out of Bristol. From the side of Sussex, I guess you just really want to scale and get some items behind you. Xayah's 3-item spikes, huge. Orianna, I mean, she's pretty decent at any point in the game, but she wants to get some items behind her, some mana items. It'll be interesting to see what build he goes for with the new changes, AP items. And the interesting one is Aatrox. I think getting a lead on Aatrox would definitely be a big boon for the side of Sussex. Getting him ahead of Maokai so you can punish him. So it'll be interesting to see if Zack heads towards there for the gank. 2v2 is actually really strong for the side of Sussex because you have to kill Aatrox and Zack twice, both of them. So whoever you focus, you're going to have to kill them twice. And if you're trying to finish off this Zack's blobs while the Aatrox is hitting you, you're going to have a bad time. And vice versa, if you're waiting for Aatrox to regenerate while the Zack's blob him about, you're going to struggle.
Well, just before we get started, we have got some interesting tidbits, particularly about the Bristol Palace team. So originally, for this match, which is rather unfortunate for them, but being this is such an important week for both teams, Jumping Dude, their Vi jungler, is actually a substitute for their Ethan, who is their normal jungler, who's not only an extremely skilled jungler, but also a shot caller for the team, along with Kerbear. But now in this game, all of those duties will fall onto Kerbear, so I'll be keeping an eye out for how well Bristol Palace will be able to make the decisions when that decision-making apparatus is cut in half.
Yeah, really difficult, especially when you might have a decision you're not sure about, because it happens with shot caller. You can have something you're a bit unsure about, you don't know what the right call is. Having someone to back you up and say, hey, let's do this, this is the right call, it's really helpful. Most systems, even in the highest level teams, they normally have a primary and maybe a secondary shot caller. And it's difficult to have to lose that person, for it to be a bit out of tandem. Maybe Kerber takes a lot of the shot calling, so it be as much an issue. So it's nice to have that backup. Or maybe it is very much on Ember to sort of take that primary role. And it's definitely going to throw a bit of a spanner in the works. And this might be why we saw the Vi pick coming so early, as a result of maybe a shorter champion pool or wanting Jumping Dude on a comfort pick. And maybe this is why they wanted to go for the Vi.
As well, on the side of Bristol Palace, something which I think they are quite proud of coming in to week 4 is during week 3, Bristol Palace were not located anywhere on the power rankings, but they managed to beat the number 1 and number 3 place teams on that same power ranking. So I feel like they've got a lot of momentum coming into this last game of the evening, looking to try and start their playoffs journey right. I'll be fascinated to see how this one works out, particularly as far as how different the top laners are for the two teams.
Yeah, I think coming in as an underdog can be an advantage often. Take a hit to your confidence when you know you're going against a really high ranked team, but if you beat them, it's just such a great feeling, and Bristol should be going off this momentum, going off this high and being like, we are one of the top teams, we've proven that, and they want to keep going forwards and proving it against Sussex here.
Now, Orcs, just before we get stuck in for the game proper, from what I understand, you have a little bit more experience with Bristol Palace than some of these other teams.
Yeah, so I actually used to play in Bristol Palace last split, only for one night, so 3 games. I was the support as I'm at Bristol Uni. But yeah, nice group of guys. Fortunately, didn't manage to go the whole distance last split, but definitely competitive players who want to do that, and they'll be looking to do that this split and play as well as they can. Pause 10 seconds, by the way, if you are.
Yes, I'm just getting up there to myself. I think we should be able to get started for our game 3 in just a moment. Get everything set up. Let's see. Yep, that's all good to go. So, Orcs, let's count in 3, 2, 1, go.
Right. Yeah.
Alright, and let's bring you guys across for the ride as we get started for our very last game of the National Championship week number 4. Sussex versus Bristol to determine who will be getting that best seeding going into playoffs.
Yeah, big match for these teams. Again, seeding, but also just proving what level you're at, because it's always very much teams have to have a level of morale. It's extremely important, and being able to prove yourself as one of the top teams and getting a measure of how strong you are is important when you want to keep advancing forwards. Motivation as well. Obviously, all these players are uni students. How much time do you want to devote and play? How much study? It can be a huge factor going into the next round. Knowing you're one of the top teams can give you the motivation to put more practice, put more time in. We just saw Bristol there go for a bit of a death brush, counting the enemy team's invade, and it looks like Sussex didn't decide to contest it, which is fair enough. But nice to see some ideas coming out from Bristol with the early game rather than just standard defensive spread. And looks like both junglers will be starting their blue buff.
So looking through the starting items here, the one that's just kind of jumping out for me is Chen Tang, the Corki for the side of Bristol, bringing out the Cull as the starting item, going up against the Oriana. As the early invade, which I think was talked about, is actually going to be 2v3, not the commit for Sussex down there, just going to provide a little bit of disruption.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a nice move to go on a bit of disruption and try and contest the other team. Not the best combo to do it. Quite hard to land the Tarek stun, and they don't really get much off it. But they get the information, they know where Vi started, provide some help for Zach, who obviously wants to have a good early safe clear. Speaking about the Cull on Corki, they have an arrogant start, I'll be honest. Corki's laner phase in Oriana isn't actually the best, because with Corki you want to trade around your autos, but so does Oriana, and she also has a Q. I've played this matchup myself a few times, and I really don't enjoy it, so maybe it's something that Chen's really confident on. He did pick this Corki very early, maybe fine with this matchup, or maybe he's banking on using the TP to his advantage. He doesn't mind taking these less favourable trades. Definitely going to be good though if he does get out of the laner phase unscathed, because Corki is an item who he's very, very item dependent. You want to get him, you want to get these spikes. Triforce a huge spike for him, and then his 3-4 item spikes are massive as well. Scales massively. Saying massive too much. Scales very well late into the game. You know, having the advantage of that extra 400 gold can put you ahead of the curve. We are seeing Vi hovering around the mid lane here. Might be looking for a gank on this Ori, who is very shoved up.
Yes, rocking the Teke, the mid laner for Sussex, rocking heal and flash. Held on to both of them though, as Jumping Dude makes that early aggressive move. Able to be just walked away from. Still waiting to see what will come of that level 6 ult. Great lockdown. But still, Thomas Corbett, we've got them down in the bottom lane on the Xayah, able to ignore it at their leisure.
Something really smart though, just to say, is the play from the Zac here, Happy Charm Noises. He moves into Bristol's side of the jungle, gets some ward control, he steals away the Gromp, and then as a result, TK plays smart. He knows which side his jungler is on, so you saw he played towards the bot side of the map. Jumping Dude wasn't able to get the gank off. As soon as he walked from lane, TK just walked towards his jungler, and the gank failed. And this is smart play between the jungler and mid. No, playing around each other, playing around the vision control, playing around which side your jungler's on, and it's something that you get from having a lot of synergy, having a lot of time played together, which Bristol might be lacking, as obviously Jumping Dude is a sub. And you can see a gank come out here.
Chime gonna cancel out the Valkyrie and pull back in the Zac. We've seen me so impactful all evening. The flash in, the first blood for Teke. Well, Jumping Dude, unable to make the gank stick. Happy Chime Noises makes it look easy.
Yeah, and this is complete opposite thing happening here. No vision on the bot side for Bristol. They did have a bit of vision on the top side. You can see that ward got placed down. And as a result, Chen needs to be playing towards the top side. Instead, he was, I'd say a bit on the wrong side of the lane, a bit too close to Zac. Zac got an easy jump in. And the thing is, if you try and Valkyrie away from his jump and it gets interrupted, that is the worst case scenario ever. Safer option is just go for the flash instantly, and in the end uses his flash and dies anyway.
Hungry Chime Noises will be denied a second gank in as many minutes as a well-placed ward from yet another scrub keeps them safe for the moment. But yeah, I'm appreciating how Sussex are able to get things rolling in the early game. That up on the top side, there we go. Attempt number 2 will pull them in. Hungry Chime going to pull back yet another scrub. The stretching strikes exceedingly difficult to get away with, but yet does hold onto the flash despite being battered up in the top lane.
Yeah, laning phase gone really bad for the scrub here, and I think one of the issues is you went this orange shield early, which just means you run out of mana as Maokai. Maokai's early laning isn't actually too bad, but when you're out of mana, you're pretty useless, and that's the advantage an Aatrox has. Have a mana pool, isn't going to run out, and going with the Doran shield, it gives you sustain, but I feel like it's a better item against sort of poach. Maybe a corrupting potion would be a better option here, gives them more trading power, gives them more mana. And as a result, you can see he's now almost 20 CS behind. It is going to catch up a bit because he's just used TP. But there's the trade-off. Aatrox is now going to walk up top without using his TP.
Yes, allowed a lot of room because of the lane being shoved up so far. The Bramble Vest has been completed for yet another scrub, though. So maybe we'll see the trading get even fiercer up in the top side. We've got the brewings of a fight down bottom, though, as both junglers are nearby. Happy Chime Noises is going to go for the play. Doesn't land on the Kerbear, who jumps away just in time. Will get the stun landed, but Jumpy Dude is a long way off.
He's going to get here, though.
Toaster Trolley forced to flash away. Jumpy Dude comes in, trying to turn this one back around. Teleport being channeled across from Sussex. They get the lockdown, the double stun. Kerbear will get taken down. That's a kill onto Thomas Corbett.
Yeah, we're going very back and forth. Sussex really overcommitted for that. Didn't land the CC initially and overchased, but they can, and that's because they have the TP advantage. Yet another scrub managed to interrupt it, but it was enough.
Big exchange of gunfire up in the top side, but yet another scrub, even with the ult and combo abilities, can't put Chapel down. Able to heal up so quickly.
Does manage to burn his flash though, so good trade-off there. But you know they lost a kill on the bot side of the map, and it's not one you see if you're a Bristol fan. And that's where this TP advantage can come in. It was just enough to dissuade the side of Bristol to make them back off and turn the team fight.
Look how quickly Chapel's healing up, able to duck away. Those changes to Darkflight, I think, definitely coming in to play to keep yet another scrub from providing too much pressure. We've got a Tiamat completed for Chapel. What would they be looking to do with the Aatrox as the game goes on? You mentioned that yet another scrub's going to be a big team fight presence. Would we be expecting to see some sort of split push from Chapel?
Yeah, absolutely. With a champion like Aatrox, you get a Tiamat, it means you can shove in. Most likely going to go for a Ravenous Hydra. Means he has more sustain than the Maokai, who needs spell cast to sort of get access to sustain. The Aatrox can just push in, push in, push in. If he has more shoving power. And right now, we're not really seeing that, you know. We did see a lane advantage come out from Chapel, but here he doesn't have the sustain. He has a small amount in his kit, but not a ton. He's dealing with a Bramble Vest. Maokai has a lot of shove. So he's not doing the greatest right now. But later in the game, when yet another scrub is going to build towards team fight, Chapel will be able to dominate and always have pressure on that lane. It means he can move to team fight sooner. He has actually picked up a Kindle Gem, so might be going towards the Titanic Hydra. Does give him more health and maybe a bit more team fight presence, but less pressure in the split push.
We've got Rift Herald come up in just over a minute's time. Cloud Drake up for grabs down on the bottom side as Happy Chime Noises once more visits the top lane. Going to bring out the Elastic Slingshot. Will manage to catch one and drags them away from their teammates. Able to dash back in just in time. Sussex tried for the big play, and honestly, it went maybe about 3/4 as well as could be expected.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a solid flash. Just to get away from the Zac jump. Most likely would have fallen if he had been caught by that. But that's the thing with Zac, is he has so much AoE CC, is that even though Super Gray avoided it, Care Bear, who was the initial target, gets caught, gets pulled back, and although he gets away, loses a lot of health, and they burn the Varasol. And it just means there's a lot of pressure for a dive here, and you can see University of Bristol playing a bit safe here, and it gives the freedom to this Orianna, who looking to get some vision control here, doesn't go for the move down bot lane yet. Maybe something I would like to see, walk bot with that shockwave, go for the early dive and get that bot tower, but for now it's just going to resort to shoving mid.
We have got these level 6s coming through, well, particularly for Jumping Dude. We're waiting to see where that first assault and battery will land. I think there were some aspirations from Bristol to try and make a play up topside, but a good control ward from Chapel will put pay to that, at least for the time being, as a lot of pressure really building up on the bottom side. That tower taking a battering from Sussex.
Yeah, I mean, they took so much damage on Braum, lost them a lot of pressure, and obviously the Zac gank forcing them back. So a lot of damage come down, and this is why I'd like to see the next step would be for Zac and Ori to make a movement down bot and go for a dive.
Play happening now as Kerber gets blown to pieces. Thomas with that BF sword and twin long swords completed, able to burst out Kerber and just increase the chances of that first tower going over to Sussex.
Yeah, and Super Greer, smartly enough, knows he has to back off, but the damage is already done, and they will lose the bot tower here. So huge advantage going over to the side of Sussex. First tower gold going onto their bot lane, and you can see there is now a 1,200 gold difference between AD carries. And this is something we saw the game before with a Varus. Varus loves his one-item spike. When he gets that Ginzu's Rage Blade, it's one of the best one-item spikes in the game. But the problem is, if you're 1,000 plus gold behind the enemy AD carry, even when you get that spike, because of the disadvantage in gold, you're not going to be strong enough to fight.
Ult coming out from Chapel. It's going to get locked down. I think it's going to be very close. And of course, the Resurrection passive from Aatrox making those very close trades extremely dangerous. You can have that up pretty much all the time as a top laner.
Yeah, I mean, it was an extremely close fight, but yet another scrub having to flash out, and he's now low HP. Does get a massive heal from his passive, but even so, Apple really confident in this position. But without his passive now, and this is something you have to be careful of when Jumping Dude is waiting in the wings, has actually picked up the Rift Herald, so they are getting something by losing out on their bot side.
Yes, Bristol yet to get a single tower. Rift Herald's definitely going to make that considerably easier. But I guess the question comes of where do you put that Rift Herald, given that things haven't been going particularly well in the bottom side? Maybe mid?
Looks like that is what they're going for here. They are just going to push it up. Seems like both teams are a bit uncertain where to send their bot lane.
Kerber gonna get caught up. Shockwave bringing it back in at Bristol again. Health bars disappearing. Super Greer taken out of action. And it's going to be Bristol forced back once again. Bristol yet to land a single kill or a single tower at the nearly 13-minute mark.
Yeah, really unsure about that. Super Greer and Care Bear came mid. But they're not going to be able to really push the tower down against this Orianna. Normally teams would swap their bot lane to the top after losing the tower. But they just end up hovering around mid and get punished. The Zac engage rage being shown here. It's so huge, so punishing. And the AoE damage from this Xayah, devastating. And you're now looking at a point where Xayah really struggles on a one-item spike. An Essence Reaver by itself isn't the greatest item you want to have.
Wait a second. Oh my gosh, Jumping Dude getting caught out. Chen Tang now going to be chased out of their own jungle. Able to at least flash away. Thomas Colbert in hot pursuit flashes after Chen Tang in a world of hurt as Thomas Colbert takes kill number 5.
Yeah, and just saying this Essence Reaver and one-item spike being weak doesn't really... There's no real power trough when you have 5 kills. Thomas Colbert going to be able to back with a huge amount of gold, going to be able to pick up at least a Zeal and most likely finish off Ninja Tabi, and it's really difficult to contest him because you're looking at a team who all their damage basically is auto attacks, and you now have a Xayah who's not only extremely fed, sitting on a lot of damage, but has Ninja Tabi to dissuade you from doing your own.
Top side continue to brawl as they have been extremely even between these two sides. Yet another scrub still chasing Chapel away. I mean, given how even it is between the two tops, as much as everything else is falling apart for the side of Bristol, I mean, is that an important facet for this map that that yet another scrub is kind of on the same kind of numbers that Chapel is, or is it just going to be too much for everything else that's been going on?
The thing is, you can see from Chapel's build, he's going towards a Black Cleaver. Once he completes that, he's going to be doing better in the trades against the Maokai. But to be honest, it's not really that important. At this point, all he needs to do is shove in. With a Tiamat, he's still going to be able to do that. And the rest of the map is winning so hard. We're seeing level advantages on both the mid and AD carry. Massive gold advantages. This Maokai may be quite tanky against one opponent. Against a Fed Zaya and an Oriana, it doesn't really matter.
Sussex bringing their assets to bear, bringing that incredibly fair bottom lane up to the top to try and see if they can get tower number 3. Objective control very much on point from Sussex so far as the top laners transition down to the bottom. You can almost feel the frustration breaking in as the fight breaks out on the top. Lovely crowd control chain, shockwave, and all the combos in the world from Sussex means that tower dive looks incredibly easy for them to pull off.
Yeah, something Bristol are seeing, which isn't the ideal thing, is they are matching Sussex. Their bot lane is against their bot lane, their top lane is against their top lane. And they are so far behind, they're just going to lose out. What I would like to see from Bristol is trading. It's something they are doing now. They're using the Rift Herald to take mid. But at this point, they might be too far behind already. We'll pick up the mid tower, though, so that's at least something.
You think perhaps the Bristol are playing Sussex's game like a regular game of League of Legends too much?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you fall this far behind, when the enemy Zaya has 6 kills, you can't match. Your bot lane is just going to get destroyed by them. You need to make plays on the other side of the map. And it just looks like they're looking for that here on the Aatrox.
Yes, yet another scrub finally going to get to take advantage of all that crowd control. Chapel goes down for the first time this game. However, Sussex are on the move. We see that bottom lane of Bristol moving up top. They might be on the table for an ambush. Jump in from chime noises. Stun doesn't land. That could have been disastrous. Now it's up to Super Greer to try and clear out that minion wave as fast as possible. The tower dive comes in. Teleport being channeled. Thomas Corbett able to jump away for a second. And no tier 2 taken. But huge damage coming out from Thomas Corbett. Decay the one to take the kill. But Thomas Corbett serves it up to him on a plate.
Yeah, I mean, Sussex felt the need to force this tower, which went a bit botched. Dive over with the Zac. Didn't manage to land the CC. But then Bristol overcommitted. They were making good moves. They took the bot tower. They took the mid tower. They were sort of getting back into the game, but they went too aggressive. Super Greer flashing in to try and punish Thomas Corbett means he has no escape for the shockwave, and that absolutely devastated the bot lane at Bristol, who are now sitting at 0-7-0 between them. Not the greatest game for them here.
We knew coming into this that Bristol Palace are a team that really kind of lives or dies by their bottom lane if Chen Tang in the mid lane can't go off. And so far, neither of those things seems to have really happened. I mean, Chen Tang has got a Triforce, we've got the Gwynsues for Super Greer, but still, it doesn't feel like their impact has been huge. Maybe an Infernal Drake might help change that for Bristol.
Yeah, if they can rush this and get out with it, this is what they need to do, because if they let the other team get it, it's really going to hamper the win conditions. Oriana is here with Shockwave though, so they need to be very fast.
Infernal Drake is going to go down quickly to the Triforce empowered auto attacks. A consolation for Bristol Palace that they at least have got some objectives out on the map, and honestly I'm surprised that Sussex weren't able to get into position to punish that more.
Yeah, I think it's just because Bristol were playing around the bot side of the map, they had the vision control set up, and as a result of Sussex resetting on the top side, they will look for a play here.
Chime goes in, gets popped straight away. Sussex may have miscalculated this team fight as the Zac taken to pieces. That engage goes south in a hurry. Jumping Dude is coming in from the side. Will Bristol try for more?
Yeah, I think not the best play to go for the Maokai. Still extremely tanky at this point, as we said before, and when he's on a tower, hard to take him down. Something as well I've seen from the Zac is he opted for cooldown reduction boots instead of Ninja Tabi. I definitely think that's the wrong decision. I understand the thought process. You want the shorter cooldown flash to make the plays, but you're against a Corki who does auto-attack base damage. You're against a Varus who does auto-attack base damage, and a Vi who does auto-attack base damage. I think Ninja Tabi would have made him a bit tankier there. Not sure if it would have saved him though.
It's well, in a game that seems to have so far been entirely Sussex's, it's a rare misstep that we'll see if Bristol Palace can find a way back into this game from. Certainly, it's not as well, it's not as dire as it maybe could have been otherwise, but still, it's looking at unless Sussex make another misstep like that, it's still going to be tough for Bristol Palace to find a way back in.
Yeah, I think the thing they have to do is they have to wait for like a 4-item spike from the Corki. When he gets his IE and his Shiv and his Rapid Fire Cannon, Corki is extremely strong. It's a long time to wait though, so you're going to have to find good ways to stall or punish mistakes that Sussex make. Interesting build though here from the Zaya, has opted to go for the Rapid Fire third instead of the Infinity Edge. Not really too fond of this build, as obviously Infinity Edge scales well with her E and also gives a huge damage on these squishy targets. And I feel like if you wanted to kill the Maokai, you'd want Infinity Edge Last Whisper. If you wanted to kill the squishies, you'd want the Infinity Edge sooner rather than later. So not too fond of this optimization here.
Well, what do you think Thomas Corbett is going for then to avoid picking up the Infinity Edge early?
Rapid Fire Cannon, 100%. It's the standard Energized build. You get both Shiv and Rapid Fire Cannon. And it means the Rapid Fire Cannon reduces the cooldown on Energized procs, like your Fleet Footwork, like your Shiv. And then obviously Shiv has a lot of AoE damage burst. But I mean, normally you see it, champions go Infinity Edge, and then Shiv and Rapid Fire Cannon, or Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon, Shiv. Essence Reaver, Shiv, Rapid Fire Cannon isn't seen as often. Did see Reckless go for this in the EU LCS, but didn't work out too well for him. It was actually on Thither, I believe. I don't think it's the most optimal build though, but Sussex looking to start the Baron up here, but do back off. Playing a bit of push and pull with Bristol, and no doubt they'll look for a pick here, get control of the Baron, someone has to contest, and this very squishy Vi is probably going to be the one who has to.
Yes, having built Warrior in this game, we've already seen from the side of Sussex that they're willing to build more kind of, off tank to be able to stand up to some form of damage, but it looks to be that Bristol are going to commit in. Baron being started up for the second time. Teleport coming in from the back of the fight. Happy chime noises taking down very low as the Baron is abandoned. Here comes the first assault of battery I can remember seeing. We've got Cosmic Radiance coming in, but it might be slightly too late. There goes Thomas Corbett. There goes 6 kills worth of damage, but the fight is still on. Toaster going down very, very low. Super Greer on the back of the fight. The Corki taking out triple kill for Takei, and it looked like a fight Bristol might be able to take, but instead they are the ones taken to pieces.
Yeah, huge misplay from Thomas Corbett. Didn't ult the Vial and so got caught out and killed instantly, but didn't really matter. The Orianna is so strong, managed to completely clean up that fight. And I think the side of Bristol, too far behind, and just didn't give enough merit for that Orianna, who just devastated them.
It feels like a lot later in the game. It's crazy to think that we're not even at the 23-minute mark, and Sussex are able to just tear through this Baron so quickly, pushing themselves ahead to now 8k in the lead.
Yeah, and you look at the item difference, particularly between the AD carries. Thomas Corbett now on his 3 items, whereas Varus has finished 2. Obviously, this is a really great spike for Varus. His 2-item spike is strong, but that's normally when you're facing an opponent's 2 items. Thomas Corbett now on 3. Has obviously gone for this Rapid Fire Cannon, this double energized build. Gives him a lot of attack speed, but not the most amount of damage compared to an Infinity Edge being finished here. But the huge thing is, he finishes this Rapid Fire Cannon a lot sooner than a more expensive Infinity Edge, so gives him an earlier spike in this situation. And something that's huge, the Orianna has just flat out bought this Morella Nomicon here.
Wait a second, we've got a catch here onto yet another scrub who's getting chewed through, but maybe this is an opportunity. Shockwave comes down and takes out the Maokai, but that's a lot of damage taken out of Sussex's lineup. Doesn't look like Bristol Palace will be able to take advantage though, as another kill comes through to Decay. All the while though, Chapel wasn't even in that fight, is split pushing up top, and Sussex are going to take a whole heap of change out of Bristol Palace's pocket.
Yeah, I mean, they got the Vial onto the Ori, but she's got a bit of bulkiness. She has the Saracen Brace Shield, she has the Leandries, and they just don't have the damage to do anything to her. Corki's sitting on almost 2 items, but not quite. Even with an Infinity Edge crit, I don't think she would have died there.
Dive past the inhibitor tower. It will cost the cell division of Happy Chime Noises, but a very cheap investment for Sussex to be able to smash through and take 1 inhibitor. don't think they'll quite be able to take the other 3-1. We have got yet another scrub coming in on the Maokai, trying to make a play, but gets locked in place. Chapel gonna get caught, gonna get rooted. Jumping Dude coming in from the side to provide a little bit more crowd control. Resurrection passive gonna be burnt for Chapel, who surely is gonna go down. No, Shockwave catches 2 to K. Legendary 11-0-6. Makes every fight a dance with death.
Yeah, absolutely. It just looks so bad for Bristol. Sorry here. Now, 15 kills behind, a 13k gold lead, absolutely huge. And it's just really difficult to see what Bristol can do from this point of view. A miracle team fight is all I can say. To be noted, Thomas Corbett has been making a couple of mistakes in these team fights, getting very low HP. But when Orianna is this strong, it's not really going to matter.
I suppose it's worth noting that Thomas Corbett doesn't yet have any kind of real defensive item in case things do go really sideways. It almost feels like Decay is the team's main form of defense, just from being able to absolutely annihilate anybody who's in a given area, perhaps the area in which they might attack Thomas Corbett from.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. Even if they do manage to kill him, even if they get a good engage, even if they get into a great area, so much damage from this side. And even the Maokai, the only real tanky member of the team, is going to get absolutely shredded.
See Thomas Corbett and the rest of the team converging. Sussex want tower number 8 and they will take it for themselves. Engage coming through. Happy chime noises, maybe a little bit too far. We did see Bristol before manage to punish a slightly too aggressive engage, but I don't know if there is such a thing as too aggressive for Sussex right now.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the turret dives are so easy to pull off. Two passives that'll bring their tanks back to life. It's just their game to lose at this point. They are getting so much damage to this tower.
And yet another scrub being pushed away. Glacial Fisher won't do too much anything apart from buy time. Then Inhibitor Tower low, but not taken as Kerbear almost gets taken out. Waiting for another minion wave to come in while Chapel provides pressure in the mid. That dropped Inhibitor gonna be an issue as Bristol Palace try and make what could easily be the last offense. Shockwave comes in, catches 2, and there goes Super Greer. The AD carry taken out of the equation as yet another scrub tries to buy space, but only buys themselves a very shallow plot on Summoner's Rift. Push in, second inhibitor goes down. Nexus towers could be up for grabs. Jump in from Happy Chime Neos. We're able to drag back multiple members of Bristol Palace. Kerbear just gets out with Jumping Dude around the far side. We've got the Cosmic Radiance coming out just to give Sussex the room they need to take those last Nexus towers. Decay has got the shields to shrug off all that damage. Chentang down incredibly low, no defense for the Nexus, and that's going to be a very nice end for Sussex. Bristol Palace will have to bow out.
Dominating performance, to be honest. Didn't seem like Bristol really got a foothold at all. Both comps, you know, we said at the start, similar sort of scalings, similar sort of objectives to make, I guess, early plays, and Sussex just absolutely excelled in it. Got Thomas Corbett so far ahead in the Zaya, and that led through to the rest of the game. Bristol couldn't punish him, and when they finally did manage to, the Orianna was strong enough to take over the game.
Alright guys, that will be it for us today. That's all the League of Legends that we have before we head into our break week and then the week after into the playoff stages as a whole. Please do keep an eye on the NUEL website and the NUEL blog for all of the information about what is coming up. But do not despair for your NUEL action because we have got Overwatch and Counter-Strike still going on Monday and on Thursday respectively. So still a little bit more NUEL action to come before we get into the playoff stage properly. But that's all for now. Orcs, thank you so much for being here today for our last week of Swiss. But for now, that will be good night for us, and we'll see you on the next broadcast.
Yeah, thank you for the co-cast Counterfeit, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Been some exciting games, and unfortunately, obviously the break week next week, but we'll see you next time we are live in 2 weeks' time.